the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 851 Threat. When Ate heard Eminem say this word, his expression immediately changed, and he quickly said, "Wah, what Squid King breeding house? Where is that place? I don't know at all." "Don't know? Your wrestling eagle was trained there, right? The joint operations team and I have destroyed that place and obtained all the information. You can't escape the punishment of the law." Amu said. He pointed at Ate aggressively. "Wrestling? Hawkman, he does have a wrestling eagle. It is said that the training was very bad and he was scolded by the old gym owner. It seems that after that, the old museum owner's condition worsened." "Wait a minute. Eminem said it was training on behalf of others? Could it be some kind of black breeding house?" "It's very possible. Didn't you also mention the joint action team? But then, why didn't you get any news from Junsha? It may still be under investigation." When other people around him saw this scene, they couldn't help but start talking. At this time, Ate was sweating profusely, and it could be said that he was clearly guilty. "You guy." Asu looked at Ate with eyes full of hatred. Only then did he understand why the teacher was so angry before. Based on Asu's understanding of the teacher's father-son relationship, if Ate really wanted to train Pokémon, even if he did poorly, given the teacher's temper, he will criticize seriously and then encourage him, instead of yelling and scolding and then getting angry and getting worse. If this guy had done that kind of thing, it would be understandable that the teacher would be so angry. What kind of legal sanctions? Don't talk nonsense. I don't know how the Squid King's breeding house is cultivated. At this time, Tay said while wiping his sweat. Without Eminem, someone in the crowd immediately asked, "Didn't you just say you didn't know about the Squid King's breeding house?" "I have nothing to do with you. I just have nothing to do with you. I want to move the Tower of Trumpet Buds immediately." Ate looked a little angry. "It's useless if you don't admit it. The Squid King's breeding house violently abuses Pokémon and uses drugs and brainwashing. Your wrestling hawk must have a different mental state than ordinary wrestling hawks. The old gym owner must have noticed it. That's why he yelled at you and even wanted to deprive you of your inheritance rights." Eminem shook his head. You're talking nonsense." Ate's retort was a little weak. At this moment, there happened to be a reporter at the scene, and they directly released Rotom and attached it to the camera. Suddenly the camera floated up, and more people came to Eminem's head. The reporter himself squeezed over with a microphone and said, "Mr. Eminem, is what you just revealed true? I'm a special correspondent of Platicadon Daily. Of course it's true. The owner of that black breeding house is Ashen, who was deprived of his qualification as a breeder 7 years ago. I even fought against him at that time. The crimes of that black breeding house were heinous, including imprisonment, electric shocks, torture, brainwashing with chemicals. They used all kinds of methods, and among the customers involved in the case, Takerata was just an inconspicuous basic customer. There are also many city councilors and alliance councilors involved in the case. I don't know why the Junsha didn't take action immediately to arrest them. I will expose their names and crimes online later." Eminem looked like he was very dissatisfied with Junsha's efficiency, or rather the case handling process. Of course this was also an appointment with Adu. Theoretically, Adu did not personally intervene in this matter. After all, if the Hydra incident had not been discovered, it would not have reached that level. Yet in the past 3 days, Junsha has actually not taken any action, but has been implementing the process step by step. Of course, he has not arrested so quickly, especially some of the accomplices with status, and many of them are not in the Chengdu area, or even in Quartz Alliance. Only when Eminem forced him to do so, Adu could legitimately intervene without being judged by Hydra in terms of level of importance, and these so-called clients are all well aware of the situation in the black breeding house. If you have a camera, that's right. I'm going to tell those beasts here. Don't think that only Junsha knows your list. Don't think that Junsha is the only one who knows your list. Can use other means to cover up his crimes. No. matter what method you use to escape guilt, I have already seen your list. Your names, crimes, and evidence will be announced soon. Don't even think about running away. Eminem threatened directly to the camera at this time point. The attitude seems very arrogant, but, in terms of the values of this world, most people will only think the same as Eminem point. However, at this time, the reporter from Pokémon Daily still asked, Mr. Eminem, was your information given to you by Junsha? Will doing this bring any legal risks? No. It was Zapdos, and I who personally fought against Dashin and rescued the file when he commanded the Pokémon to explode. The evidence held by the Junsha department was provided by me. Amu said confidently. Point of course, even if this is the case, the legal risks are not completely absent, but it was already very small, so small that Eminem could ignore it, even without discussing it with Adu. Eminem dared to do this, not to mention that Eminem also mentioned lightning birds and me, even if it was really the secret that Junsha had given to Eminem. What would happen if he leaked it? Eminem said that lightning bird couldn't bear to let me announce it. Anyone who has any objections should go to Lightning Bird's mother to complain. Point even with the bond between Eminem and Leocat, they can directly go to the real three holy birds to create a customized version of the miracle to announce. Point who has any objections, go to Poseidon Lugia to file a complaint. When it comes to Poseidon, we have to mention Eminem's ability on the sea. Many people on the internet say that Eminem is a blessinger and even the apostle of Lugia. How about going to Arceus to file a complaint? I'm suing you for slander. He's slandering me. He's slandering me. At this time, Ate was already excited. Slander? Just wait and see the evidence online. Eminem said disdainfully and brushed his bangs. I'm going to demolish the Thornbud Tower right now. Ate was completely panicked. Point at this time, Arsu scolded. Ate, if you really do something that brings shame to the teacher, it's best to surrender to Junsha immediately. Otherwise, I will clean up the family on behalf of the teacher. Su is even more of a heavyweight. He looked like he was going to kill Ate. Compared to Eminem, this is a true outlaw fanatic speech. Point but it's understandable. After all, in addition to the nature of Ate's actions, it also involved embarrassing Asu's teacher. No, you are a bit extreme. Eminem blocked the camera to prevent Asu's appearance from being broadcast. Chapter 852. I'm here too. You guys. I want to repay Junsha. I will demolish the Trumpet Bud Tower right now. Ate obviously also understood Asu's temper. At this time, he was frightened by him and suddenly started to tremble. He took advantage of the fact that he was the son of the old hotel owner and took away the Tower of Trumpet Buds. Asu would only consider himself unlucky, but the matter of the Squid King breeding house was exposed, especially when he indirectly angered the old hotel owner. If things are exposed, maybe one day, justice from heaven will really happen. That kind of justice from heaven when a bird type Pokémon suddenly attacks. Seeing that Ate's whole body was weak at this time, only his mouth was still hard, the secretary behind him quickly reminded him in a low voice, President, don't say it here. After being persuaded by this, Ate calmed down a little, then glared at Eminem and Asu bitterly and said, HMPH. Just wait for me. I have signed the contract with DOC Group, and the construction will start in 2 days. Not even for a day. At the same time, Ate began to feel excited. According to what Eminem said, this matter should be very involved, so maybe he could find some allies to fight against the investigation together, or even bite back. Eminem was stunned at this moment. Who did you sign with? Eminem seemed to hear a familiar name. Ate didn't answer Eminem, but just hummed again, and turned to leave. Muscular Man also quickly called for bodyguards to help the boss push away the angry crowd. But at this moment, I saw Tomoyo walking towards me, frowning slightly and saying, is this President Ate? I wonder what you and our Prodigy group signed. As for a few bodyguards, Sakura stood with her hands on her hips in front of Tomoyo, unable to move, even when the strange power came. When Ate saw Tomoyo, he was startled for a moment, then immediately dismissed the bodyguard, and said flatteringly, isn't this Miss Tomoyo? I attended the New Year's banquet of Chairman Yuanmei last year. Really? That's such a coincidence. Tomoyo smiled without sincerity. New Year's reception. It should be the one for partners, right? After turning 14, Tomoyo did attend, but it was a big cocktail party with hundreds of people, so it would be strange for Tomoyo to recognize him. And it's from last year, so it looks like it's not on the list this year. Tomoyo actually doesn't know what happened now. He just saw Amu's message and knew that he came to the Kakayo gym, so he came with Sakura after. Just saw this scene. As for who Ate is and what the Daidoji group does, Tomoyo has no idea. First of all, this kind of cooperation is mostly made by the president of the local branch. Her mother Sonomi probably just looked at the documents, and Tomoyo is not the head of Daidoji group, so she would not know about it. Secondly, Tomoyo only arrived at midnight yesterday. Platikadon City doesn't pay much attention to local news. Tomoyo just saw that Tae seemed to have a very bad reputation here, and he seemed to be quarreling with Eminem about something. That's why I'm asking. It's like this. I attended the grand event that Daidoji group was planning to build a commercial street in Platikadon City, so I decided to move the Thornbud Tower, left by my late father there. The contract signed by President Gui and me, Chairman Yuan Mi. I know that too. Mrs. Ate no longer acted as arrogantly as before. As for President Gui, he is the president of Daidoji group in the Platikadon area. Within the group, he is one level higher than the general manager of Platikadon Daidoji Mall. I see. Chais nodded clearly at this time, but in fact, she still didn't understand what was going on here, and was just planning to ask Eminem later. It was only then that Eminem knew. Co-authored this Tower of Trumpet Bud, or sold it to Daidoji group. It is true that, although Ate wants to dismantle the Trumpet Bud Tower, and also wants to build something on the spot to create congestion for Ate, the tower is not scrapped, but is being transported in batches to a newly built commercial road. Go to the street. As for that commercial street, it was organized and planned by the president of Daidoji group here. It is regarded as a big project of Daidoji group this year. The Tower of Trumpet Butts is only a part of it, and it is planned to be used as a small landmark. As soon as Tae breathed a sigh of relief, Tomoyo turned around and asked, "Then why are you and Mew quarreling, eh?" Eminem. Tae didn't pay attention to who this handsome guy was before, and thought he was some big star. Of course, even after hearing Amu, Ate still didn't know who it was. He just knew that the eldest lady recognized him. "I'm asking you, right?" Tomoyo smiled slightly, indicating that he did not accept his rhetorical question. Mr. Amu and I may have some misunderstandings. At this time, Ate said with a dry laugh. Tomoyo passed by him at this time, came to Amu and asked, "What's wrong with him? He is a customer of that black breeding house." Amu said concisely. Is he the one who helped Junsha infiltrate with us? Tomoyo said deliberately at this time. When the reporter from the Platikadon Daily heard this, he immediately became more energetic. Listening to this, the eldest lady of the Daidoji group was also with Eminem at that time. "Were you there when the black breeding house was destroyed?" "Miss Tomoyo, I'm a special guest from Kakayo Daily. Sorry, I have no plans to promote through your company in the future. I can only say, I was also present at what Eminem said." Tomoyo simply responded. At the side, Tae's face turned green, and he could only escape dejectedly, not even daring to say hello to Tomoyo again. The trainers around him all sent off along the way. Whether they used booze or insults depends on their personal qualities. Afterwards, the owner of Aso Hall invited Mew in, and naturally Tomoyo and Sakura also came together. However, as for the Thornbud Tower, Tomoyo will not comment on this transaction, because Takarada is not a good person, before he has a detailed understanding of whether it is beneficial to Daidoji group. Aso didn't communicate anything with Chais, but asked Amu for confirmation. Regarding the black breeding house, he didn't ask much about the case itself. He mainly wanted to confirm the part related to Ate. Eminem also passed this part of the information directly to him, although it is not the original information, but, as long as it is checked, many of them, including his wrestling eagle itself, can become evidence. After seeing it, Asu also turned pale. But in front of Eminem, Asu didn't say much. He just made an appointment with Eminem for the gym challenge. The 9th badge. Okay, I will try my best to arrange it. Just tomorrow night. Because there are so many people who have made reservations for the challenge recently, I can only wait in the evening, and it will be the 4th place in Tower of Trumpet Bud's lair. Chapter 853. We have a good relationship. After Eminem left the Platicadon gym, he immediately posted a post on the Global Trainers Forum. This post had been written long ago, and was just copied and pasted. It stands to reason that Eminem's account is not a real name certified account of a professional trainer, so the attention and weight are not high, especially if you post on the world channel. Very few people will be able to reach it right. However, because at the Platicadon gym, what Eminem said before immediately spread in the Platicadon dailies push and everyone's discussions, and some people even started searching for Eminem's account. At noon, Eminem discovered that his post had become too popular and was automatically pinned to the top. Because it involves not only the Chengdu region and the Quartz Alliance, but also the entire Xianguan continent, and even other regions, it has also attracted much attention within the world. The content of the post was already discussed between Eminem and Mr. Do. In short, they threatened the prisoners to surrender, and threatened Junsha to deal with them as soon as possible. To this end, a batch of lists were announced in advance. This part of the announcement was also carefully selected by Mr. Amu and Do. They are basically available in all regions, and they are all somewhat famous figures, and they all have a detailed chain of evidence. It's easy to confirm if you know someone. Eminem claims to have 90% of the list and evidence, and urges the remaining 10% to surrender as soon as possible. Only those who surrender will not be published by Eminem. At this time, more than 90% of the trainers on the forum naturally supported Eminem and cursed those people, but not to mention the obvious rightful guest, Eminem's private messages have long been filled with anonymous abuse. After all, the black breeding house is not the only one with such black products. Their hidden customers naturally account for a small proportion among all trainers, but based on the base number, the absolute number is very large. These people are very interested in how this kind of behavior is also very subjective and malicious. It's just that Eminem was well prepared and didn't get angry. He also uttered some unpleasant curses to further increase the popularity and posted selfies at the same time, which also increased the popularity. However, at noon, Eminem suddenly received a message from Sakaki and asked about the squid breeding house, which made Eminem immediately alert. "I just said this old boy is not a good person," Eminem muttered, thinking in his mind whether Sakaki might be related to Hydra. Otherwise, why would he be so active? Sister Zilan, for example, although she also sent a message to Eminem, she didn't ask any questions at all. She just told Eminem that she would pay attention to this matter and that if Eminem needed help, he could contact her. So, facing this suspicious bald man, Eminem started to talk. But how skilled is Sakaki? Immediately I discovered Eminem's little thoughts. "You don't have to think too much. I have a good relationship with Do, and I can help you ask." Sakaki really stated his purpose. Slim Shady. "You have a good relationship with Do. Does Do know about this?" But Eminem also understood that Sakaki, the old boy, wanted to take the opportunity to attack Adu and urge him to make him unhappy. Although there are customers all over the world, this black breeding house cannot be found in the Johto area. Seeing that Eminem is putting pressure on Adu and Junsha, isn't Sakaki just happy to add fuel to the fire? Of course, it cannot be ruled out that Sakaki wants to secretly cheat Chin Kang, so Eminem told Adu that Sakaki contacted him. Sakaki, at least, is trustworthy when it comes to this Hydra matter. In the afternoon, I'm also planning to initiate an emergency championship meeting and contact all major regions. The affairs of Hydra are only known to the leaders of each region, and they must be informed so that they can cooperate with the action. Adu believes in Sakaki and all champions in this regard. He alone can't be the master outside the Johto area, so he can't hide it from everyone. After hearing what Adu said, Eminem formed a group for Adu and Sakaki. "Sakaki? Adu? You two haven't added friends yet?" Eminem spoke in shock. "This is a private account." Adu changed the embarrassing topic. "But Sakaki said he has a good relationship with you?" Eminem continued to speak awkwardly. "Sakaki." After some embarrassment, Eminem saw that the two still didn't communicate in the group, so he guessed that they might be communicating using their work accounts. In the afternoon, Ado indeed held an emergency press conference, and at the same time, Junsha from all over the country began to take action to quickly control the customers. Even if the matter is not handled immediately, the carriage and fostering of Pokémon, etc., have been frozen and restricted from leaving the country, subject to evidence collection and investigation. Kanto champion Sakaki, Sinnoh champion Zulan, and Hone champion Macaulay also issued statements saying they would never tolerate it. Although the time difference between areas outside Xianguan continent and the city is still very large, they all responded quickly. For a time, this black breeding house incident in the Johto area really became world-class news. Normally, this emphasis is somewhat abnormal, but considering that this was the result of Eminem's urge, it's not very surprising. As for the place where this incident started, Kikayo City in the Johto area, as the first customer to be exposed, Ate is now in a state of panic, becoming hysterical, and even threatening to dismantle the speaker immediately. But that fellow Takarada said that the construction would start immediately, but the Prodigy Group's engineering team did not cooperate. Tomoyo said to Eminem, after taking a look at the message, "You shouldn't pay attention to him." Yuanzi said directly, "Well, if it was a matter involving the Suzuki Group, Sonoko would have already troubled him when she heard Eminem mention it in the middle of the night last night. It's true that this guy has a bad reputation now. I just visited President GUI and asked him to re-examine whether this business is a good deal. Tomoyo is not so impulsive and knows that one code will lead to another. After all, what Doji Group wants to buy is also a landmark in the commercial street. If it only has negative effects on public opinion, it is not worth it." But now what Ate means is that Deo Temple doesn't even need to pay the balance and can only pay to dismantle the tower. What President GUI hesitates is just counting the Shiho Omega rough stone is a good deal. Seeing Sonoko still looking angry and aggrieved at this moment, Tomoyo added, "And, after all, the Trumpet Bud Tower is still his. No matter whether someone takes it over, he will definitely make this place vacant anyway, and President GUI will also." I found out that he has already contacted the construction team. If we cancel our cooperation, he will start the construction on his own early the day after tomorrow. At this time, Eminem looked at Conan. After feeling his gaze, Conan shuddered and immediately looked over with disgust. Just when Eminem was hesitating whether to take Conan to see that guy. Big news. After Eminem's big news, the second page is also big news. Xiaolan looked at the extra issue of Platicodon Daily and suddenly said in surprise, "What's wrong?" Yuanzi asked in confusion when he saw Xiaolan looking at him. "Here, it's that Phantom Thief. Phantom Thief Kid sent a warning letter to Takarada," Xiaolan said, unfolding the newspaper. "I saw that the largest picture printed on the second page of the news was a card with Kid's stick figure drawn on it." Conan, who had not participated in the conversation until now, suddenly became interested and quickly stepped forward. Chapter 854 Yin-san. Another day of complaining about teammates. Hearing that Nata had received a notice letter from Kid, and that this notice letter was directly published, Conan quickly stepped forward. Compared to the previous topic, he was indeed more interested in this topic. What Kid wrote this time was, "Worship the Tower of Trumpet Buds." Conan said in surprise, "I saw that the last thing Kid wrote was this sentence. Is this pretense, still? Do you really want to steal the tower? How can you steal such a big tower? You should just steal the big food flower megastone on it." Xiaolan said matter-of-factly. "What does the front mean? What is the night when Laurel and Ladder meet?" Yuanzi wondered at this time. Yugi means laurel leaf, right? The three Uchiha families here in Chengdu. Xiaolan thought of this. Then meeting means. Yuanzi still didn't understand. Are they an egg group? Eminem muttered at this time. Bayleaf is a monster egg group, and plant egg group. Ladder is a land egg group. This should not be the meaning. Conan. Who said this is what it means? You're the only one thinking about it, okay? Conan rolled his eyes. That's right. Yuanzi said, his face turned red. Conan pondered for a moment and then said, Bayleaf is number 2 in the Johto illustrated book, and ladder is number 18. It should be said, the night of February 18th. That's it. Xiaolan suddenly said after hearing this. Ever since Conan temporarily mega evolved and cheated Xiaolan in the stage play before, this has become even more outrageous. Anyway, judging from Xiaolan's appearance, she shouldn't doubt him again for several months. The night after tomorrow? Isn't that the time for Eminem's gym challenge? Yuanzi suddenly reacted. Yeah, and the gym duel will be on the 4th floor of Trumpet Bud Tower. If his target is really Big Food Flower Megastone, it's really close to me. Eminem also reacted at this time. After all, the Trumpet Bud Tower only has 4 floors, and the huge Big Flower Megastone is on the outer wall of the 4th floor. At this moment, the phone in the room rang, and Sonoko, who was nearest, instinctively picked up the phone. She made Tomoyo glance at her with a smile. This is her and Sakura's room. Out of etiquette, Yuanzi shouldn't pick it up so naturally. But Yuanzi obviously didn't care about this. Hello. Oh. I'm visiting Eminem. Yuanzi said and looked at Eminem. Tomoyo. Visiting Eminem. Why are you calling my room? After thinking about it for a moment, Tomoyo realized that he must have called Eminem, but there was no one in the room, so he searched for his own room that he had registered with him. From this we can also know that it must be some official representative who is anxious to find Eminem, so the front desk will cooperate with the inquiry. Who? Eminem also wondered. If it is someone from Junsha, there is another way to contact him directly. Who? Yinsen Police Department. Yuanzi asked and suddenly became aware. Nakamori Jinzo is responsible for the police department responsible for Kato Kid. It seems that he also discovered that the location and time of Kid's announcement coincided with Eminem's gym challenge. Moreover, Jinsen and Junsha, whom Eminem used to deal with, are not in the same department, so they can only come to the Pokémon Center to look for them. Compared to Eminem, Yuanzi and Xiaolan are more familiar with the Yinsen Police Department. Eminem only saw him twice in Kanto, but Sonoko and Ran saw him 2 or 3 more times. Firstly because Jiraji always made trouble, and secondly, rumor has it that Conan restrained Kid. Of course, Jinzo himself does not believe this. He hopes to catch Kid with his own hands instead of asking some detectives or Kid's nemesis to help. He just passively always cooperates with these people. Hey, Uncle Jinsen, I'm Sonoko. Hahaha, come here. Well, it's in this room. Seeing that Eminem agreed, Sonoko took it upon herself to let Jinsen come over, as if she completely regarded this as her own room. Tomoyo is too lazy to look at her. After Jinsen at the front desk answered the phone, he also muttered, today's young people, it's true. Because his daughter is on the verge of being raped at any time, Jinsen is very sensitive. When Eminem appears in his girlfriend's room, he has already felt that the world is declining. But he just found out that Sonoko is also there. Of course, this was entirely because he was too nervous. What did it have to do with it being in broad daylight? He hasn't seen Eminem who entered Chiyo's room at 5 in the morning. Yinsen Police Department, we meet again. Eminem greeted Yinsen after seeing him. Well, I remember you. You are going to have a gym duel at the Trumpet Bud Tower the night after tomorrow, right? Yinsen nodded after seeing Eminem, not too enthusiastically. After all, Eminem was not familiar with him, and Eminem had just threatened Quarters Junsha not long ago. Of course, the so-called threat actually needs to be viewed in 2 parts for Junsha. Generally speaking, there will definitely be some Junsha who do not know the truth and have some opinions on Eminem, but there are also quite a few Junsha who are very supportive of Eminem. And this division is roughly the difference between ordinary Junsha and Junsha clan. For example, you may just send a message to Eminem, praising him greatly and quietly revealing you and ZHU Junsha's actions to him. For the Junsha clan, what they care most about is human beings using Pokémon for evil. The kind of black breeding house itself violates the bottom line of the Junsha clan. When seeing Eminem's revelation, the real Junsha clan would only think, why didn't they arrest him immediately? This must be because there are bad people within the alliance who are affecting our Junsha mission. Fortunately, there are upright insiders. However, as an ordinary Junsha, Jinsen must be unhappy with Eminem's actions, especially in the process of arresting Kid. Jinzo was always hampered by Kid's popularity being too high and fans and victims not obeying orders. Therefore, although he didn't know anything about the black breeding house, he but it is easy to substitute Eminem into the troublesome layman. Sure enough, when Jinson asked Eminem to cancel the gym challenge, Eminem also decisively refused. No, since the leader of ASU didn't cancel it, I won't take the initiative to cancel it. Kid or something. If he wants to cause trouble during my duel, just let him try. Eminem said righteously said. Of course the owner of ASU Hall would not agree to cancel, otherwise Jinson would not come to Eminem. You, young man, don't be too arrogant. I know you don't like that fat guy, but Kid is not that easy to deal with. If you still have to challenge the gym at that time, it will be difficult for us to set up defenses. Jinson suddenly I felt dizzy. He was indeed the troublemaker. Chapter 855 Kato. Young man, don't be so willful. Do you know how much that mega rough stone costs? Jinson decided to try another way to persuade him. In fact, Jinson doesn't know how much it is, and he doesn't care how much it is. Is catching Kid a matter of money? How much? Amu turned to Chise and asked. The entire tower cost 270 million, half of which should be on the Big Food Flower Mega Rough Stone. Tomoyo said she had already asked President GUI. This price is not the price of a Mega Evolution Stone, but the price of a huge rough stone as a gem. If a rough stone of this level is polished into a Mega Evolution Stone, its value will actually decrease. Eminem wasn't surprised when he heard it. He just looked back at Jinson, as if to say I know now. Tomoyo added at this time, of course, before the official handover, this is Takeradata's thing. Well, and we paid a deposit. Tomoyo didn't finish what he said, but Amu already understood. You've already received the deposit, and if you can't get the items out by then, it won't be a matter of refunding the deposit. Needless to say, Jinson Police Department, I believe in your ability and you will not be afraid of Kid. I can't miss the opportunity to challenge this gym. Eminem said with sincerity. Jinson moved his mouth, but couldn't say anything. He had already said this, and it was absolutely impossible to make him give in. At this moment, Eminem's illustrated book beeped, and when he looked down, it happened to be the information notified by the Platicadon gym. The rules of the challenge are out, and it's actually the leader of ASU Hall who is going to play in person. Then I can't refuse. After seeing it, Eminem said immediately, Master ASU will appear in person. Yuanzi was surprised when he heard this. As the leader of the 12-star gym, ASU can normally assess the acquisition of the 12th badge. Badges above the 8th are no longer subject to the gym's own rules, but can only be assessed through the gym showdown method. However, the selection of assessors can be backward compatible. For example, 10-star gym trainers or gym leaders can also assess the acquisition of the 9th badge. Many times, the official 10-star gyms in small towns may not have 9-star gym training except for the gym leaders division. For example, in the previous Uolan gym, when Eminem's 3 senior sisters first obtained qualifications, there were only Sakura, the master of the 12-star gym, Iris, the trainer of the 11-star gym, and Muten, the trainer of the 10-star gym. Except for the 3 sisters, there are no gym trainers above 8 stars. Of course, when it comes to checking backward compatibility, there will definitely be some leakage. What time? Yuanzi asked. 10 o'clock. Eminem was also a little surprised. He said it was night, but he didn't expect it to be so late. So late? That's right. There have been a lot of duels scheduled at Trumpet Bud Tower recently. After Yuanzi was surprised, she felt a little enlightened. If Master ASU is here, Kid may not dare to take action. Tomoyo said without thinking it was a big deal. No, you don't know him. Forget it. You can have a duel at the gym, but we will arrange the scene. Jinson has made up his mind to at least limit the number of spectators at the scene. Conan was startled when he heard this, and then asked, Uncle Jinson, have you already explored the terrain of Thornbud Tower? Of course. I have investigated it in detail. The uncles are very professional. Jinson said arrogantly, but then he thought about it. Kid failed to catch it every time, and it seemed that he had nothing to show off. So he added, it's just that the thief is too cunning. Conan has stopped talking. Okay, that guy must have been mixed up in Junsha and stepped on it in detail. The next day, February 17th, Kakayo City Akoda High School. In the first year Class B classroom, the students who had finished their exams and were about to enter the second grade were talking in the classroom. Some are checking the answers, some are discussing vacation plans, and some are complaining that they failed the exam. Ikoda High School also learned from Teton High School, but it was not so wild and sent students out to travel directly. Instead, it took short trips every half a month and then came back for classes and exams, and the cycle started again. It is said that starting from next school year, the policy may be more bold. At this time, Kato looked at the newspaper and saw that he was actually pushed to the second page, and he was feeling depressed. Yes, this young boy Kuroba Kato who is still in high school is none other than Kid Bend, or Kid Second. The reason why he is considered a middle-aged man is because Kid, who committed the crime in the early years, is his father Kuroba Toichi. 8 years ago, Black Feather Pirates died, and the cause of death was related to a mysterious organization. In order to trace the cause of his father's death and take revenge, Kato inherited the name Kid and searched for gems, a gem that the mysterious organization was also looking for. As long as he keeps pursuing the gem, the mysterious organization that is inseparable from his father's death will definitely appear by his side. Of course, this is just a big goal. In fact, when Kid chooses a target of stealing or performing, sometimes it is purely out of preference, and, as a young man, he also gains satisfaction from the screams of fans. When you see yourself on the headlines, you will be very happy, but when you see yourself being pushed to the second page, you will be a little depressed. What? It's actually the second version. Really? Kato muttered. At this moment, his childhood sweetheart Kingsley rushed over and agreed. Yes. You are also condemning that thief, right? That hateful thief. Ayoko, whose full name is Nakamori Ayoko, is the daughter of Nakamori Jinzo. Even to a stranger, you can notice she has a certain Junsha appearance. Jinson's wife is also from the Junsha clan members, but they just don't have the power of Junsha. Well, about 1/3 of the female members of the Junsha clan who do not have the power of Junsha will marry male Junsha, and the male Junsha clan will basically work in Junsha or related jobs, such as e.g. Ayoko didn't hear Kato's words clearly either, thinking that he also despised the thief. Kato, on the other hand, didn't know how to cheat at all, and corrected him without any emotional intelligence. No, I mean, as a great magician, I think Kid should be on the front page. What? Kato, you are just like that guy. You only know how to be clever. And he wants to steal this time. But that, Ayoko said angrily, but after that, but it's unclear then. She became even more furious when she saw that Kato seemed to have forgotten the special meaning of the Tower of the Trumpet Bud. At this time, a girl with long burgundy hair came over. Hey, Hongzi, why don't you look good? Kingsley immediately became concerned when he saw this. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 856 Prophecy. Seeing that Anko's classmate seemed to be uncomfortable, Ayoko ignored that thief and quickly became concerned. Kato was also a little surprised at this time, although he didn't believe what she was bragging about, but Kato did know that Anko was a superpower and still extremely strong. Kato even suspected that in terms of his own superpowers, Anko could be comparable to those legendary superpowers. But Hongzi now, not only did his face look ugly, but he also had big dark circles under his eyes, making him look very tired. What's wrong? It can't be the exam, right? Kato asked in confusion. Kingsley saw that he was provoking Hongzi again, so he scolded. Do you think everyone is you? Huh? Have I ever worried about things like exams? Kato said and spread his hands. At this moment, another Kiko classmate with glasses and twin tails saw the newspaper in Kato's hand and immediately expressed his admiration for Kid. When Kingsley saw that her good sister actually worshipped that kind of thing, she quickly began to persuade and educate her. Taking this opportunity, Anko came to Kato and whispered, although I don't know why you want to take action on that gem, it is usually placed outside where it can be illuminated by the moonlight. You also know that it is definitely not what you are looking for. That's the right one, but I advise you to stop it this time. What? I told you I'm not kid anymore. Kato wouldn't admit it at all. However, Anko didn't want to expose him. Regardless of whether Kato admitted it or not, she just reminded him, the trumpet bud that stands tall in the sky, standing in the field of the sky for the 20,000th day and night, the source of life, the mother of all things, beauty, the incarnation of yin and blood moon, will defeat the king of the sky here. Huh? What are you reading again? Divination? Kato asked without paying much attention. No, this is a prophecy given to me by Jaratana. Anko smiled arrogantly, seemingly not paying attention to Kato's doubts and teasing. The source of life, the mother of all things, is also beautiful and feminine. Don't tell me, are you talking about the beauty who defeated the dragon in the sky? Kato asked suspiciously. No, first of all, the prophecy points to a beautiful man. Secondly, the king of the sky is not the dragon of the sky, otherwise the honorary name would not be so simple, and the most important thing is that the Trumpet Bud Tower will be built tomorrow, the 20,000th day. I can feel that it is a very terrifying existence in a mystical sense. No matter what your plans are, it is best to avoid this day, Hongzi said matter-of-factly. Ha, haha, I said it all. I don't know what you are talking about. I'm not that. Kato rolled his eyes. Of course, Hongzi was also confused as to what thing he predicted. Hongzi always felt that he should be the heir to red magic. Since ancient times, those who are proficient in white magic and black magic are called wizards, and those who are proficient in red magic and green magic are called mage. At the same time, there is an essential difference between the first two and the latter two. But now among the mages, except for the problematic supreme mage, no one should be stronger than himself in red magic. But this time it was just a prophecy, which greatly damaged her vitality. Especially last night, when she wanted to clear away the fog on the other person and see his true body. Hongzi lost his memory immediately. I was in a coma until this morning. My head is still dizzy to this day. Of course, she also understood that the terms used for this kind of prophecy must be exaggerated images. For example, King of the Sky, according to Hongzi's interpretation, could not refer to dragon of the sky. Fierce sky sitting is such an exaggerated existence, but it should be a powerful flying king trainer. But another point is, Hongzi didn't know the answer at this time, but he knew that it was very terrifying. In a mystical sense, the pressure brought by the king of the sky could not be compared to a single hair of his. Beautiful man? Are you talking about handsome man? Kiko suddenly interrupted. Huh? Kato looked over in confusion. Why are you so excited? Have you seen Kid's Beauty? It's true that there is a super handsome guy right now in Kikayo City. It would be great if I could grab a ticket tomorrow. Then I would be able to see Mr. Eminem's gym showdown and also see G from the nearest distance. That's great, Kiko said in a coquettish way. Super, big, handsome guy? Kato wondered. Huh, you didn't see it? Isn't it right here? Kiko said, turning the newspaper to the front page. Of course, it is news related to the Squid King breeding house, and on the accompanying picture, it is Eminem. Upright JPG. He is indeed a very handsome pharmacist, and he has a sense of justice. Kingsley also knew that Eminem was a pharmacist. Huh. Kato looked at the photo in the newspaper with dead eyes. Is this guy handsome? Well, as Kid Second he can complete difficult theft cases many times in this world and gain countless fans without being caught by Junsha. Of course, Kato is also a very strong trainer, although part of the reason is that he can directly command the Pokémon left by his father, but it is undeniable that he also has extremely strong, super, fairy, and evil abilities. Among them, the extremely strong fairy type means that he is still unable to appreciate Eminem's true appearance at this stage. Hongzi was startled at first, and then muttered suddenly, so that's it. He is going to have a gym duel at the Trumpet Bud Tower tomorrow night. For Hongzi, the moment she saw Eminem, she already knew that he was the beautiful man. This is not a question of whether Hongzi will be affected by Eminem's true appearance, but In Eminem's appearance, she saw the source of life, the mother of all things, the beauty, the feminine, the blood moon. Especially since the report also mentioned that he will have a duel with the leader of Asu Hall on the 4th floor of Trumpet Bud Tower tomorrow. Oh. So you care so much. Ha 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 ha. Ayoko deliberately mocked Kato at this time after all. In King's opinion, there is nothing to doubt that Eminem is very handsome. Of course, as a master of fairy system, Kato is actually quite good looking, but he can't compare to Eminem. At this time, Hongzi kept staring at Eminem's photo in the newspaper while secretly hesitating in her heart. Tomorrow night, should she go and take a look? Originally, Hongzi had made up her mind not to wade into troubled waters when she was being attacked, but now that she knew Eminem's identity directly, she couldn't help but be curious. Chapter 857 Training. Alliance February 17th, 201. Eminem's gym challenges tomorrow night. Today is the only free day in Platicadon City, so he came to the battle club early. Eminem didn't know what happened last night, but he was faintly touched in his sleep when he just woke up. Eminem thought it was Sakura who had a precognitive dream and he sensed changes in key point, but after waiting for a while, Tomoyo didn't come to find him. Eminem was still a little puzzled, but when he recalled it carefully, he realized that the feeling just now did not seem to be affected by the energy of the predictive dream point, although Eminem still doesn't know what exactly touched him. But he woke up, so he got up and wrote today's training plan, then washed up and went out and sent text messages to Sonoko and Tomoyo, telling them that they didn't have to wait for him to eat. Then early in the morning, I arrived at the battle club. In addition to training Pokémon, Eminem also needs to train himself, mainly training his ability to control Shell Ninja. Beforehand, Eminem had borrowed all the cards that the Shell Ninja could use from Sakura, and today he planned to activate all the skills that he had not yet had time to activate. Due to the large number and speed of learning skills, the level of Escape Ninja also increased very quickly, and it was not long before he was already over level 20. Kiro card, plus Eminem's personal control. The skill training of Shell Ninja really feels like a game. Just click on the skill machine and you can learn it. In addition to Shelling Ninja, there are also Banjulus, Pocus, Moon Bear, Ivory Pig, Nidoking and Super Armor Maniac in the training room. Rhinoceros 6 Pokémon, Shelling Ninja does not need to take up the position of being subdued, does not need to enter the elf ball, and does not need to be fostered. After all, it has no self-awareness at all. It can be stuffed into the bag at ordinary times, and it doesn't even take up any space. And the reason why I brought Arduin here is because I will need him to appear when I challenge him in the gym later. For the challenge of the 9th badge, the gym can only decide who will appear, but not the method of challenge, because only the battle method can be used, and it can only be a regular battle, that is 3 vs 3 singles, plus 4 vs 4 double. Now in the training room, except for Shell Ninja, there are 6 Pokémon, which are the 6 Pokémon that will play in the gym battle after Eminem. Moreover, this is a serious battle, and there are no restrictions on conquering areas. Forget it about Ninja and Shell. Azu is sure that any Pokémon can master the flying skill and can Shell Ninja in seconds. The Pokémon used by a zoo gym leader must all be flying types, and, given his genre, they must all be birds. And the most proficient in them are bird type skills. The flying type restrains the grass type, fighting type, and insect type. This resulted in half of Eminem's Pokémon being wasted. After all, this is a challenge of the 9th badge. If the leader of the Asu Horde is less generous, Eminem will still have to take it seriously. If all the restrained Pokémon don't play, Eminem will basically have to choose one among Ghost, Pippi, and Arduin. Think about the skin of Ghost Stone and Pippi, and then think about the fact that Arduin is not only uncontrollable, but also resists and restrains the flying system because of his rock element. So Eminem willed Arduin changed from Iron Armored Rhino Ronch. But now, Eminem is also wondering whether he made the wrong choice. Arduin seemed a little lackluster at this time, and his aura felt much more powerful, but his movements were slow. Eminem gave it a brief check, and then he realized this guy needs restorative training. In the past half year, Arduin has not improved much, which is not beyond Eminem's expectations. But, it's just that his growth has not improved, and Arduin's actual combat effectiveness has obviously declined. The most obvious thing is that his movements and reactions have become slow. That is, he hasn't had a serious fight in a long time, and his life is to comfortable point. Well, that's why, in the wild state, there are the most Pokémon in levels 20 and 30, and there are fewer as you go up. And only in ecologically dense places, there will be high level wild Pokémon, because there is no competition. If so, you don't need such a high growth level. Duan, you are really. Nido, please accompany him for some restorative training. Eminem patted him wordlessly. Nido glanced at Arduin with disgust. Compared with Arduin, Nido was in a completely different situation. In the past 6 months, Nido and Giroon have received the most training from Amu among the non-Johto Pokémon. In addition, Nido has also been training himself seriously when he is not with Amu. Because of the differences in the total number of racial values and the reasonable distribution of racial values between Nidoking and Super Armored Rhino, during the Kanto rookie competition, Adan was always ahead of Nido in the main Linoop. But now Nido has completely crushed Arduin in terms of growth level, which makes Nido feel quite proud. When he looks at Arduin, he is arrogant. Nido, breaking off, roar. The exchange between the two ended with Nido's roar. Well, Eminem also understood it. To put it simply, Nido mocked Arduin and said, "Why are you acting like this now?" Arduin smiled and shared with it how many eggs he had sown in the past 6 months, and how popular he was with the female armored rhinoceros. And I was concerned about how Nido and Aowen were doing. Then Nido beat it up with practical actions. I told Arduin how he spent the past 6 months as an ideal and ambitious Nidoking. Eminem doesn't care either. Nido is now nearly 20 levels higher than Arduin. If he really wanted to fight seriously, he would really be bullying Arduin. But now it's just recovery training, and neither side can use skills. You know, Nido is the special attack Nidoking, without using skills. Considering the extremely high physical attack and defense racial values of Super Armored Rhinoceros, even if Nidoking is 20 levels higher than the small one, the two sides should be evenly matched. In pure melee combat. That's right. The fact that Arduin was able to be beaten was entirely due to his own regression. If it were Arduin at the end of the rookie competition just now, he would not be at a disadvantage in pure hand-to-hand combat with Nido now. Fortunately, it had only been less than half a year. While being beaten, Arduin's movements gradually became more agile. After being beaten for a day, he was finally able to fight back with a little more openness. Although he has not yet returned to his peak, he is ready to play for the time being. Chapter 858 Relatives and Friends Group Quota. Alliance, February 18th, 2019, at 8 PM. Go down to Trumpet Bud Tower. Eminem has been training all day yesterday and today, and is basically ready for the gym challenge that will be held later at this time. The last duel held at the Thorn Bud Tower has just ended, but Eminem has not yet been able to enter the venue as he wished, because the scene has been controlled by Junsha from Yinsen Police Department and the Intelligent Criminal Investigation Department. After all, judging from kids' past habits, although it is most likely to take action at midnight, the earliest time to take action is at 9 o'clock. At this time, the Trumpet Bud Tower has been fortified, and there are Junshas riding flying Pokémon on the top of the tower and in the air on guard. Later, during the showdown between Eminem and Azu, the number of spectators was also greatly restricted. Basically, only the people who are necessary for the gym showdown, such as referees, trainers who maintain the barrier, witnesses, and Eminem's family and friends can go up. In this regard, neither the owner of Azu nor Eminem have any objections. Eminem even thinks that it would be good to impose restrictions. This is not only a matter of exposing strength, but more importantly, Kid, the strongest magician. My prince. The tower is already full of Kid's fans. In this case, if Jinsen doesn't control the number of spectators, Eminem estimates that the people who grab the tickets will be Kid's fans, and not come to watch the gym showdown at all. But at this moment, Eminem suddenly heard some different sounds. Kid, get out. Dad, come on. I saw Ayoko shouting at the top of her lungs at this time. It can be said that apart from Junsha, She was one of the few opponents of Kid, or a supporter of Jinzo. It's a pity that her voice was too low on her own, and Kiko beside her didn't shout for her. Instead, she whispered to her to keep a low profile. As a result, almost no one can hear her voice. A girl next to her who looked to be in her 30s vaguely heard something and asked happily, "Sister, are you also a fan of Kid's father? Are you here to cheer for Kid's father, Kingsley?" Kingsley almost fell over in one breath. When Kingsley was about to argue with the old aunt, Kiko quickly pulled her away to avoid another quarrel later. "I'm so angry. Kiko, don't stop me." Kingsley was so angry that he bared his teeth and claws. "I don't know her the same way. By the way, where is Kato? Didn't he come too?" Kiko changed the subject at this time. "I don't know. I guess I went somewhere to take some time off again," Kingsley said angrily, thinking at the same time that the guy might have forgotten that this Tower of Trumpet Butts was the place where she met him when she was a child. Therefore, Aoko's resentment towards Kid this time is particularly great. It happened that Eminem was communicating with Jinson about the admission time. Jinson was very sensitive to his daughter's voice, so he turned to look over. "Kingsley, what are you doing here?" Jinson said with a headache. Seeing this, Kingsley had no choice but to step forward. Of course I'm here to cheer you on, Daddy." Of course Kingsley would not say that he was here to commemorate the Tower of Trumpet Butts. "Really? Don't run around. By the way, if you enter after 9 o'clock, you will be searched, mainly to verify your identity," Jinson said, looking at Eminem's face. "But there's no rush to verify it now." In many confrontations, Jinson has also learned that there are two types of disguise for Kid. One is to use the ability of a certain Pokémon or superpower to achieve it, which is similar to an illusion. The other is the ability to use masks and disguises to carry out physical disguise. The latter is actually more concealed because the illusion is easy to be discovered by Pokémon and can be easily broken on a large scale, while physical disguise can only destroy its mask at close range. In the past, Kid had succeeded several times by taking advantage of Junsha's ignorance of his physical disguise and only focusing on guarding against his illusionary disguise. "Okay, let's trouble the Yinsen Police Department," Eminem said politely. "Dad, can I go to the 4th floor?" Kingsley asked a little embarrassedly. She and Kato met on the 4th floor of the Thornbud Tower, so no, this is not a place to play. "And where is that brat Kato? You really went out with that brat again, right?" Jinson said dissatisfied. "It is unpleasant enough for my daughter to go out with a brat, but now the brat is still missing." "I didn't." Seeing this, Kingsley quickly wanted to explain. Eminem, who was standing by at this time, also understood a little bit. Eminem had never seen Phantom Thief Kid, but he had heard of the names Kato and Aoko, so Eminem took the initiative and said, "Then just go up, you." Jinson immediately glared over, feeling that this person was indeed causing trouble. "Okay, these two classmates can be regarded as my group of relatives and friends. Anyway, my quota has not been used up," Eminem said in a good voice. Jinson felt impatient for a while and thought to himself, "If I had known, I would have given you less restrictions." After thinking about it, Jinson looked at Amu in front of him even more suspiciously. It was obviously the first time for him to meet Aoko. Could it be that he was attracted to my daughter? Only then did Aoko notice Eminem, and at the same time, Kiko was already stunned as she looked at Eminem next to her. That's right, Eminem's appearance immediately transformed Kiko from a pure fan of Kid to a fan of Kid plus a casual fan of Eminem. Kingsley covered her head helplessly, feeling that her best friend was a bit conspicuous, but she still thanked Eminem afterwards. It's true that Eminem's appearance is not something to be underestimated, but Kingsley is not considered an infomaniac. After all, Kato is also a goblin, and Aoko has gotten used to it by watching it all day long. Just when Kingsley was thanking Eminem normally, another message suddenly came over. "Is this Mr. Eminem? I wonder if I can have this honor." Eminem turned his head following the voice, only to see another girl he didn't recognize. She had a very cold temperament and had long burgundy hair. She was wearing a dress. Like a dress. Behind her was a man dressed as a butler, hunched over, and giving Eminem a very awkward feeling. The first time he saw her, Eminem thought of Nazi. "Hongzi, you're here too?" Kingsley said in surprise. Upon seeing this, Eminem realized that this person should also be related to Phantom Thief Kid Hongzi. Is it that witch? I wonder to what extent a witch is. Could she be a wizard? Of course. Eminem agreed directly. At this time, Tomoyo happened to come over and asked with a smile, "Eminem, what's wrong?" Chapter 859. Start early. This is Ayoko, the daughter of the Yinsen Police Department. Eminem introduced. Jinsen. Yinsen was also helpless. It was as if I had opened a back door for my daughter. This is Hongzi, and, Eminem looked at the girl with glasses and twin tails, feeling a little embarrassed. My name is Kiko. Please, take care of me." Kiko saw Eminem looking over and immediately bowed at a 90-degree angle. "Miss Tomoyo from the prodigy group, right?" Hongzi showed a smile at this time, and a somewhat appraising gaze. "Miss Anko, do we know each other?" Tomoyo asked curiously. From the tone of her voice, Anko didn't sound like she had seen a photo of herself. "When I was young, my mother and I went to visit Mr. Zengxi at Xiangang's house. We met him once," Hongzi said calmly. Xiangang, the surname of Zish's maternal line. When Tomoyo heard this, her heart moved slightly. She naturally had no impression of Anko, but if it was more than 10 years ago, her maternal great-grandfather, Amemiya Morki, had ignored business for a long time. At that time, he went to visit and brought his children with him. Yes, he should be an old friend of the Xiangang family, right? Sakura, Sonoko and Xiaolan, along with Conan and Xiaoi, came over with the marshmallows they had just bought nearby. When Eminem saw this, he said, "Anko-san and Sakura should be traveling together." Eminem was a little tempted. In the worldview of K-Tao Kid, Hongzi's character is still very high, but specifically here, Eminem still has doubts about whether she is a witch or not. At least she didn't dress up like a magical girl like Maya did. Anko heard the words and looked at Sakura and immediately frowned. Tomoyo was stunned at first when he heard the words. Then he saw her frowning at Sakura and felt conflicted again. There was some resistance at first. Tomoyo could see that Ayoko didn't care too much about Amu. The reason why they came into the Tower of Trumpet Buds together was because they were concerned about other things. As for Kiko, she was a simple nymphomaniac, no threat. Only this Hongzi not only made her a little confused, but also, Tomoyo can feel her curiosity and concern for Eminem. It doesn't feel like it's the first time she's met, nor does it look like, because of her looks, it's not quite a companion. Hongzi said lightly, "Do you want the four of you to come up together?" Tomoyo now included Hongzi's housekeeper. "Well, that makes exactly 10 people. The Yinsen Police Department said we can start entering at 9 o'clock. Eminem replied. Kingsley had been looking around at this time, a little distracted, and did not hear clearly what Eminem said about fellow companions. Anko saw this and said, "Kato-san seems to have something to do and needs to leave temporarily. I saw him leaving when I came here." "What? That guy?" Kingsley said angrily. After hearing this, of course, Eminem guessed that Anko just said this casually. After all, Anko knew the identity of Kato Kid. It's normal to help him look careless. Eminem was a little concerned about what Hongzi said just now. Not very close. At this time, the Junshus also think they have controlled the scene, and Eminem and others can begin to enter. I saw that the wind speed dog at the door smelled everyone carefully, and the sentinel rat with wide eyes also stared at everyone carefully. If it was an illusion disguise, it would be easy to be discovered at this time. As for the next step, it is to identify the most difficult physical disguise. The two Junshus put on the bath towels on their hands, rub them on their faces to ensure that any masks will be broken. "Kid can't pretend to be as handsome as me, right?" Eminem said, brushing his bangs. This Junsha said at the door, "And using this is too rude for a lady." Amu shook his finger because he saw that Tomoyo was already looking troubled. Sonoko, Ran and Sakura were fine. Hongzi smiled coldly, and Amu doubted that she could really use illusions. Seeing this, Yinsen had no choice but to say, "Then you confirm each other at This moment, I saw Ayako and Kiko whispering to each other about little secrets, that they only knew each other. The same goes for Tomoyo and Sakura. Sonoko directly went to pinch Zioran's face, but was naturally counterattacked. Zio deliberately teased Conan. What's the name of this of yours? She pointed at the Shinichi Megastone, embedded in the strap of his watch. Hey, can he still pretend to be as young as me? Conan rolled his eyes, and didn't answer at all. Huh? Didn't anyone verify it for you? Yinsen looked at Eminem warily, as I said, no one can easily recognize my beauty. Eminem said, wagging his finger at Yinsen. Eminem didn't lie, be it Kid or Belmont. If he really disguises himself as himself, and is seen by an unfamiliar person who has only seen his current self at first glance, he will not think of Eminem at all. When seeing acquaintances who have known me before, they will be confused. Does this person look familiar? How does he look like Eminem before? After all, Eminem's current appearance has a God's Path bonus, so it's useless to just imitate his facial features. However, seeing that Jinsen still looked suspicious, Eminem had no choice but to say to Tomoyo next to him, substitution, I found out that time, you didn't notice. Tomoyo covered his mouth directly. Seeing this, Sakura nodded to Jinsen seriously, indicating that it must be him, and you too. Jinsen looked at Hongzi and her housekeeper. Miss, I will never admit my mistake. The butler's voice was hoarse. The housekeeper and I have been together since home. We have never been separated. Don't worry. Hongzi said matter-of-factly. Seeing this, Jinsen nodded and let them in. Then the group came to the 4th floor of the Trumpet Bud Tower and saw that the master of the Asau Hall was already waiting here, and there was a referee from the East George clan beside him. It was difficult to judge the age. There are also 4 gym trainers present, and their Pokémon will then be responsible for maintaining the barrier to the battlefield. Although there are no other spectators, you still have to be careful not to damage the tower, right? There are also 2 gentlemen in suits, who are witnesses at the Platicadon city office. The 9th badge already needs to be witnessed by the Alliance, but it only needs to be witnessed by the staff of the local Alliance. If there are more than 11 badges, someone from the Alliance headquarters will even need to be sent to witness. It's 9:25 now. How about it? Do you still need to prepare? Asu asked proactively at this time, having already picked up the game ball. If Master Azu has no objection, I'm available at any time. Seeing this, Eminem stepped forward and took the ball from the East George referee. Anyway, there were no spectators and no tickets were sold. Since everyone was here, it didn't matter if we started earlier. The witnesses had no objections and immediately accepted the application for early start. Yinsen would not have any objections. He wished that the 2 of them would finish the competition before 10 o'clock, and then everyone else would leave as soon as possible. By the way, this is a standard game ball. It's rarely used, right? Asu said after opening the game ball and adding the elf ball to it. Indeed, but it can still be used, Eminem said. There are some differences from the game ball during the rookie game. The game ball during the rookie game has a fixed elf ball placed in the common position of singles and double. In other words, all 6 Pokémon must be on the field, and only 1 single and double are on the field. The same is true for Johto's rookie competition, which is for the balanced development of newcomers. However, the standard game ball is different. After filling the elf ball, you can select singles, doubles or all. Theoretically, you can even play only 4 Pokémon, with all 3 singles and double on the field. Eminem's Linoop has been decided a long time ago. Chapter 860 Testing. Gym Challenge. Gym Fangazu. Challenge Fangamu. Standard Battle Rules. Doubles Duel. Start now. Please both sides release their starting Pokémon. The 25-year-old veteran Chengdan George referee. The duel was announced. Go. Duan. Small Pleen. It's up to you. Big King Yan. Big Bird. As soon as Eminem came up, he sent out the super armored rhinoceros who had just completed his recovery training, and the Pockets who had been training in the city. And Asu also sent Big King Swallow and Dabby Bad to meet the challenge. Because it was Azu who was playing, Eminem did not overestimate his Linoop in advance. After all, it is impossible for Azu to send out the main Linoop, and if it is not the main Linoop and the commonly used Pokémon, then there is no guessing. Just prepare according to the opponent's strengths in flying and birds. I saw only two big birds, one big and one small. They flew back and forth at high speed as soon as they appeared on the Asu field. Even if the big bird is compared with the big bird or Pockessy, it's smaller, but still in the big bird category. Compared to small airplanes, Asu's two flying Pokémon appear to be very agile and agile. In terms of combat power, the two sides are actually about the same, and even Eminem's side is slightly stronger. The reason for this difference is firstly, because of the body structure, and secondly, the bird type is the specialty of the Platycodon, and of course it can fly well. Break. Doan roared as he came up, raised his arms to face the two big birds in flight, and fired several bang bang shots. The rocks in his arms were launched from the palm of his hand. It's a pity that none of them were successful. That's right, it's Meng. It flies so fast and even aiming is useless. The strategy of Dabby Bird and Big King Swallow is obviously to deal with the enemy in the sky first. Firstly, it is for air superiority, and secondly, the super armored rhinoceros is too tough. Not only does the physical defense racial value of 130 make physical attackers desperate, but they are also resistant to flying. Although Dabby Bird and Big King Swallow are not limited to flying type attack skills, but they are best at flying type, especially bird type skills without a doubt. Not everyone is an Eminem, and there is no tendency when it comes to skill training. Most trainers, even Pokémon masters, have some things they are good at and others they are not good at. As soon as Asu glanced at it, he was already ready to make a substitution, and before that, of course, the priority was to output Pockess. The disadvantage of super armored rhinoceros was immediately revealed. Big Bird and Big King Swallow can't hit it, but it can't hit the opponent that's moving at high speed either. As for ground to air, it's actually not bad for super armored rhinoceros. After all, it has the body structure of an arm cannon, and with its current growth level, even if the rock blocks are used up, it can still condense rock type. The power is used as a cannonball point, but the problem now is that the arm cannon cannot aim at high speed targets. But Eminem also had a way. When he saw that the other party wanted to target the small plane, but it had not yet thought of a way to deal with it, Eminem immediately commanded, "Small plane, hide on Arduin." The body structure is doomed. Togekiss is not as flexible as a serious bad Pokémon. Not to mention, Togekiss is not good at strength, and it is still 1 against 2. I saw that the small plane quickly became overwhelmed in the mid-air dogfight. However, following Eminem's command, Zyogei and Arduin immediately thought of a way. Zyogei hid directly in front of Arduin and lay on the ground with his back stretched out. It can be said that he simply gave up the struggle in the air and used his wings to protect his abdomen. The reason for this posture is to ensure that the small aircraft has a guaranteed view of the sky and can flap its wings and launch skill attacks into the air at any time. At this time, Arduin was also staring at his opponent's two big birds, as if they dared to come down, and he would be confused. Big Bird and Big King Swallow could only scream in anger. Jensen curled his lips and said, "Isn't this too cowardly? This is a tactic." Kiko plucked up her courage and muttered in a low voice. Jensen, young people today still look at the face that way. Jensen didn't watch the battle too much, but went to check the defense. At the same time, compare. Dabby Bird has its skills ready first. Eminem's heart moved, and he silently wrote down the order. I don't know whether it was the difference in growth rate or the individual speed of the opponent's Big King Swallow, but the Big Bird had its skills ready first. I saw the Dabby Bird flapping its wings at this time, causing the surrounding airflow to become chaotic and violent, but it never reached the level of attack. The airflow that was gradually stirred up became more orderly and began to surround the Dabby Bird and Big King Swallow. Sure enough, Eminem muttered, and it was not beyond his expectation. It was Tangfeng, the inevitable starting move of Baote Fishin Ryu. Eminem's Bao is also very good at Tailwind now. In this world, this trick cannot make the skill ready faster, but it can make itself more flexible and agile against flying Pokémon, or those who are already agile Pokémon. The effect is particularly obvious. The Baote Fishin Liu which is known for its agility, of course prefers Tarnfeng Point immediately after the skill of Big King Swallow was ready. I saw Big King Swallow surrounded by Tailwind, so fast that it was about to fly out of the after image. At this time, after the skill was ready, the dark green insect power was wrapped around the body, and the figure it seemed a bit more illusory, and its flight path became more erratic and weird. As it rushed towards a super armor crazy rhino point, Arduin fired several more arm cannons, but they were dodged all the time. In the end, he was swept away by the Big King Swallow and cut by the wings into his ribs, receiving a wave of minor attacks. The next moment, Asu's convergent light accurately shone on the Great King Yan, who had just come behind Arduin, and took it back. At the same time, a fire arrow eagle appeared at the same location. Arduin naturally also knows the nature of the match ball. After 2 days of recovery training, he can still react. No matter whether it is restrained or not, he will hit it with an elbow with his backhand. However, as soon as the fire arrow eagle appeared, it also inherited the blessing of Tailwind and flew away at the same speed. Just a little bit hit, break. Arduin was also so angry that he screamed, as if he was provoking the other party to get it hard. Didn't you just use a skill? How could you take it back? Yuanzi complained loudly, seeming to question Asu's cheating point. Xiaolan quickly stopped her and explained in a low voice, it should be the insect types. Rapid return. Chapter 861 Bird Attack. That's right, of course Azu wasn't cheating by using a fake match ball. What Big King Swallow just used was rapid return, which can keep the Pokémon in a returnable state. Rapid return. This kind of skill, in addition to the offensive buff, will also put the Pokémon in a retractable state, usually used in the game when substituting, taking a little damage, and in the wild among Pokémon. This move is the first choice for hit and run point, of course. Under that kind of rapid movement, being able to hit the target with a beam of light without slowing down is something that Asu has also practiced. Although it is an insect type skill, this kind of flying skill, after adding buff, is also within the scope of expertise for Asu, who is good at bad type point. The fire arrow eagle that appeared next was much larger than the Great King Swallow, and it was covered in fiery red feathers. It flew quickly like a ball of flame. Then Fire Arrow Eagle seemed to have nothing to do with Super Armored Crazy Rhino and Pockis hiding under Super Armored Crazy Rhinoceros, and soon Pockis also had its skills ready. Soon I saw Pok. After the small plane flicked its tongue, an inexplicable force rose from the small plane and returned to Arduin Point. Asu immediately realized what was happening and quickly shouted, "Get out of the way!" Although Azu usually has enough communication with his Pokémon, shouting it out has an extra exciting effect, and I saw Dabby Bird and Arrow Eagle flying faster. At the same time, Arduin's skill is ready. Normally, it is still early for its skills to be ready, and it is entirely possible that Dabby Bird will trap it and move it a second time. After all, while Super Armored Rhinoceros is physically powerful, its skills are too slow to prepare point. But since Eminem didn't bring a Pokémon that knew magic space this time, he naturally asked the small plane to bring you first. The move names in the Alliance era all sound so friendly. This is also a way to reduce humans' fear of Pokémon and increase their sense of intimacy. After all, in the early days of the Alliance era, Pokémon were still special people, only one can control it. You ask first. The effect in the game is to make the target Pokémon act immediately after you. It is usually used to speed up low speed Pokémon. In this world, the effect is simpler and clearer. It is equivalent to the user imbuing his own ready skills to the target point. As long as the difference in strength is not too big, you can fill it up. This made Arduin, who was still far away from having his skills ready, become ready immediately. And it's not over yet. The small plane that had just used the skill now surged with general system power again, still instilling power into Arduin's body. If you don't have enough experience, you really can't tell the difference between these two skills. The next moment, Arduin suddenly waved his heavy arm. Suddenly, clusters of rocks on the ceiling, condensed from countless rock-type powers, hit the ground like rain. At the same time, I saw that the moment Arduin activated his skill, some kind of translucent mist seemed to flash over his head. It's exactly help, plus be careful with your headband, plus rock crash. Help is generally a preemptive skill. The small aircraft is used as an overdraft at this time. The effect is to increase the power of the target's next skill. Fast Headband, one of Stark Group's signature items, and one of the Dude series battle props, increases the power of physical attack skills by occupying skill gene segments. Because it is occupied, only one skill can be used, and when the effect is activated, it will form a visible air pressure circle around the head, so it is called a headband point when the two are superimposed. The power of Rock Avalanche is astonishing. It can even be said that it is not surprising to drop flying type Pokémon of the same level instantly, but at this time, Arduen's method of use is also somewhat different. It is not like a normal rock avalanche, which hits the target in batches in a tracking manner, but a flooding and saturation attack point in this way. Although the power is scattered, at least the hit is somewhat guaranteed. Otherwise, Arduen felt that if he fired Rock Collapse, he would probably hit nothing. Sure enough, Dabby Bird and Fire Arrow Eagle could not avoid it. Dabby Bird directly used Hold, and a protective shield was immediately raised around him. After all, Hold is also a preemptive skill. Can be overdrafted point after the Fire Arrow Eagle resisted twice. It completed the rendezvous with its teammate Dabby Bird. The two big birds directly fly together, with Dabby Bird on top, using Hold to form a formation. The protective shield blocked subsequent attacks. Although the Fire Arrow Eagle was still severely damaged in this way, it seems that at least it will not affect the subsequent combat effectiveness. You particular about headbands? Arsu muttered in a low voice at this time, and then smiled slightly. He can probably understand why Eminem didn't bring Weakness Needle. Generally speaking, Weakness Needle is more suitable for Super Armor Crazy Rhinoceros. In the previously disclosed rookie competition, Eminem's Super Armor Crazy Rhinoceros, they also all carry Weakness Needle, but this time, Eminem probably considered that Asu is better at flying type skills and must use flying type Pokémon, so in order to avoid Weakness Stinger from being triggered. It was also because Rock Crash is definitely worth it, so I chose a skill locked headband. It can't be said that Eminem was wrong, but this did play into Asu's plan. I saw that Fire Arrow Eagle quickly completed its skills and was ready. The cold light on its wings flashed, and it dived towards a Super Armor Crazy Rhino and slashed at it. It is Steel Wing, although it is a Steel type skill. In terms of body structure, Steel Wings is definitely a bird skill, and it is also within the category that Asu is good at point, and Steel type also restrains Super Armored Rhinoceros. Even with the characteristics of Arduen Hardhead, this restraint is not very obvious, but it is definitely much more effective and more important than the resisted flying type skill. At this moment, the Fire Arrow Eagle used its flying momentum to slash past. When Arduen was about to backhand him again, he suddenly let out a cry of pain, and his movements froze for a moment. He was struck by the Fire Arrow Eagle get out of the way quickly, and the ribs where Arduen was cut by the Steel Wing faintly revealed some flickering red light. It seems to be a burning effect. Arduen still suffered from the long lost battle formation. Under the sudden burning pain, not only was his strength affected, but his movements also involuntarily slowed down. Seeing Super Armor Crazy Rhinoceros being burned, Yuanzi and others were all in a cold sweat. Only Eminem himself wasn't too anxious. Generally speaking, it is really not good for the physical attack hand to be burned, but for Arduen, it has the natural recovery characteristic. Chapter 862 Scraping. Is that a burn? Isn't it? Steel Wing? How can it still be burned? Sakura was surprised at this time. Tomoyo looked at her. I really want to tell Sakura that next time like this, don't ask. Sonoko will ask anyway, so we don't show any cowardice. However, he still explained to Sakura, it should be flame body, right? Although generally, flame body can only be activated when being attacked, there is something special about a Zoo Hall Master's Fiery Arrow Eagle. It's also normal. Well, after all, the effects of force are mutual. It will be stimulated when being attacked, and it can also be stimulated when attacking in a natural close collision. The premise is that you master it skillfully enough, and not just use it passively. After all, it is essentially the fire energy contained in itself. When it is hit hard, it spreads out along with the force of the collision point. The fire arrow eagle that Asu played at this time, although it is not yet characteristically awakened, is already very proficient in controlling the flame body. Not only can it specifically increase the probability of successful triggering, but it can also be triggered during active attacks, under a full attack, or being attacked equally. There is at least a 50% chance of burning the opponent point. Therefore, this is not bad luck for Arduin, but the result of Fire Arrow Eagle's efforts to master the characteristics. Of course, if Arduin was just a side elbow at the beginning, the probability of triggering it to that extent is extremely low. No. If the super armored rhinoceros is burned, its combat power will be greatly reduced. Sonoko stamped her feet anxiously. But Eminem is not in a hurry, and Asu is even less anxious. Arduin thought that he was on the field and tried his best to suppress the impact of burning pain. Although it did not have characteristics such as perseverance, burning would definitely affect the performance of strength, but the additional pain would affect the movement. The impact can be overcome. It's not very intense, Kingsley said calmly, watching the fun. She was a little distracted at first, but she just looked at the field and found that there was no struggle between the two sides at all. One side was flying around, and the other was standing firm. No. This should be the flying side, which consumes more physical strength. The ground side can be strengthened on the spot. Kiko was talking about the theoretical knowledge learned in school, but now the super armored rhinoceros is burned right. The physical consumption is even greater than flying. Kingsley reminded. Indeed, when one party is a flying type, this kind of situation, where there is no fighting between each other, and only skills are not uncommon. In such a confrontation, if you can't grasp the trick, it's often the one on the ground who is anxious, but as long as you grasp the trick, the flying Pokémon will waste its own energy. It's just that the burn of super armored rhinoceros is very detrimental to Eminem. Generally speaking, few trainers will specifically use skills to relieve the status during the game, and the physical attacker is directly disabled by burn. More than half. Not long after, Dabby Bird, which had overdrawn defend once, had its skills ready first. As for the small plane, it had also overdrawn help once before, so naturally it was still behind Dabby Bird, and even couldn't catch up. The second round of skills of Fire Arrow Eagle. Needless to say, Arduin Amu calculated in his mind that at the low speed of the super armored rhinoceros, it should be ready at about the same time as the small plane that had been overdrawn once. At this time, Dabby Bad was also seen flashing dark green, insect type, energy all over its body. A green light went back and forth, first flying around Arduin several times, and then suddenly swerving from the blind spot where it was inconvenient to exert force. The attack was launched, causing Arduin to stagger slightly. At the same time, Azu once again showed his excellent substitution skills. In such high speed movement, he still accurately used the beam to shine on the Dabby Bird. In an instant, the Dabby Bad disappeared and was replaced by a swallow treasure that was similar to the Dabby Bird in body shape, but its body shape was very different. It was more like the previous Big King Swallow, and its feathers were golden black. Kemen, another rapid return. Asu is now quite interested in scraping tactics. That's Yuanzi couldn't help but feel a little strange when he saw the Pokémon he had replaced. It's Daiden Heian. Tomoyo explained at this time. I see. Daiden Heian. Haha. Yuanzi nodded with a dry smile. Tomoyo. It is a common Pokémon on Padia Island. It is very suitable for generating electricity. It is more suitable than Pikachu and Naughty Thunderbolt. The Daidaji group had a plan to introduce it and then breed it on a large scale, but it was not successful. It is said that Gillard the group has succeeded and has reached the final experimental stage. Tomoyo explained carefully. Large scale introduction and breeding and personal training by trainers are completely different things. Personal training is easy to say. Generally, as long as the trainer takes good care of it, there is no need to worry about acclimatization. However, large-scale introduction and breeding requires a specially built environment, from food and drink to housing and transportation, to consider all aspects. As for power plants and large ranches, we definitely cannot rely on trainers. to train and cultivate them one by one. Electric Pokémon can be said to be one of the most important resources in today's era. Although it is not Pokémon correct to say this, it is essentially true. Point after this Pokémon was discovered on Padia Island, several groups in Chyanguan continent wanted to cultivate it on a large scale. Now the power plants in Chyanguan continent are all Pikachu or Naughty Thunder Bomb power plant with average efficiency. It's a pity that they failed one after another. The Galado group, which is still an old energy group, has the first signs of success after all. In the energy field, Deodeoc group is definitely not as good as Giladi group. There are specialties in the industry. Just like every company in Chyanguan continent also wanted to introduce Motor Lizard, but now only Deodeoc group is on the verge of success. And in the mineral classification saltstone giant family, Chyanguan continent only has Suzuki. The group has successfully cultivated on a large scale. At this time, Azu's big electric petrol quickly showed everyone why this Pokémon is very good at generating electricity. I saw that the downwind wind applied to the big electric petrol not only immediately made its flight lighter and faster, but also caused its entire body to flash with electric light. Seeing this, Tomoyo also explained, this is the unique wind power generation characteristic of Dayton. In strong wind, it will be in a charging state. Some of the Pokémon unique to the Padia region do not appear in the textbooks, or there is not much content. As for the charging state, it can not only amplify electric skills during battle, but also release them to generate electricity. Fortunately, it only strengthens the electric skills, which has no effect on the super armored rhinoceros. Yuanzi breathed a sigh of relief. Then the fire arrow eagle prepared its skills one step ahead of the small plane. It started to dance in the air, and at the same time, it was overflowing with the power of the general system. At this time, the sound of its wings rubbing against the air was heard, just like fencing. It's sword dance. No, it's starting to get stronger. Xiaolan's ears twitched, and she immediately heard the move Dang Dang. The Ring of Fate by the world's best squid god in the online literature world is on the shelves today. Highly recommended for those who haven't seen it, especially the previous work Lord of the Mysteries. If you haven't seen it yet, it's great. There is a super masterpiece waiting for you. If you are saving up Circle of Fate like Bendang, don't forget to be the first to pre-order today and set a record for the Squid Boss. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 863. How long has this been? It's sword dance. No, it's starting to get stronger. Xiaolan's ears twitched, and she immediately heard the move. Can flying Pokémon be strengthened? Yuanzi asked in surprise. Flying Pokémon cannot use enhanced skills. That's just a rule in the lower grades of school. Xiaolan pulled Yuanzi with a smile. Indeed, in schools, because flying Pokémon has too great an advantage among new trainers, they rely on their ability to fly and do not fight other than their skills, or they just swim and fight and then strengthen themselves. If the opponent's Pokémon on the ground does not have effective attack methods and does not have enhanced skills, it is basically impossible to fight. Therefore, in the lower grades, this kind of village rule will be added, mainly to avoid flying Pokémon. Kemon students are accustomed to this kind of low-end path dependence. But in higher-end battles, this is not a problem. After Sword Dance, the threat of Fire Arrow Eagle greatly increased, and Super Armor Crazy Rhinoceros was burned. So the former started to fight. But this touch and go fighting method is just scraping for Arduin. Although scraping is also a tactic, but Eminem is good at dealing with scraping. After all, there is the ability of Eternal Flame, and Eminem's Pokémon has its own regeneration effect. Soon the small plane compensated for the previous help, and then the skill was ready again. After waiting for a while, Arduin's skill was ready. At the moment when Arduin's horn started to spin slightly, Eminem directly used the match ball to take it back. In contrast, Eminem didn't need any skills, such a big one, and it was restored to the ground. If you don't move, you can come, no matter what point. At the same time, Fire Arrow Eagle and Big Electric Petrol launched a fierce attack on Duan's original position with tacit understanding. The Pokémon that had just been replaced would definitely require a reaction time and would not be easy to dodge. Fight back. The next moment, a green figure not much smaller than the super armor crazy rhino appeared on the field point and Eminem immediately put the match ball back, revealing the keystone on his wrist. The moment the green figure appeared, it was shrouded in dark green evolutionary light, and its body expanded to a slightly higher level than the super armor crazy rhino just now point at the same time. Although he was also hit by the red and yellow Fire Arrow Eagle and Big Electric Petrol, but the damage was too small. When the light of evolution dissipated, a Bangerous with particularly bared teeth and claws appeared on the field. "This is Mega Evolved Bankalus. So handsome," Kiko said looking at Eminem. "Ah, you looking at Mega Bankalus?" Ayako rolled her eyes. Xiaolan also remembered at this time. "Ah, by the way, Eminem does have the Mega Bankalus evolution stone," she said while looking at Yuan Z. It was given to him by Sinoko's mother during the Dark Star Pearl incident. It's just that Eminem has never used it in battle before, so he has hidden it. But now, thanks to Kid's arrival, there is no audience at all. Although Azao and the others have no obligation to keep it secret, the spread is definitely very low. So Eminem doesn't have to think about hiding his strength. I saw that the overall body shape of Bankalus after Mega Evolution was not much different from before, except that it was a little taller, and the green armor plates on his body cracked, as if it was just the internal body expansion, but the size of the armor plates remained the same. From the exposed part of the crack, you can see that the body inside changes from gray to red, and there are many more pores on the armor, especially on the back, because the armor is opened one after another, like 3 pairs of small wings, and the back is also exposed. A red back and 6 blowholes. In this way, Mega Bankalus, like the pre-evolution Shakarus, can increase the explosive speed by ejecting the airflow formed by the energy in the body point on Lai. After all, it is too heavy to maintain flight like the pupa-shaped Shakalus. The most it can do is to accelerate explosively and jump high. Class. I saw Leoben roaring angrily. Although he didn't have time to fight back, it was obvious that this red and 1 yellow attack had little effect on it. Mega Bankalus has a physical defense racial value of 150, which is higher than Super Armored Rhinoceros, and Leoben's growth level is also higher than that of Arduan. More importantly, he also has a rock type attribute, facing physical attacks from the flying system. Leoben was even more at ease point at the same time. Crystals of rock system energy began to condense in the air in the dual arena. Although from a pure data point of view, Sandstorm is fair to Pokémon other than rock type, ground type and steel type, but the flying guys will definitely be more powerful in Sandstorm. Uncomfortable. The 2 figures, 1 red and 1 yellow, in the sky were both much slower at this time. At this moment, the Yinsen Police Department, who had been patrolling for a while, came back and took a look at the referee, only to find or 0:0 question mark quote hey, what are you doing? How long has this been going on? Yinsen was full of resentment, just like a reader who had watched the updates for several days and found no actual results. Yinsen originally wanted them to finish the fight and leave early, but is the fight going to be until tomorrow? Fortunately, at this moment, Eminem seemed to feel this resentment, and the skills of the small plane were ready a step earlier. At this time, I saw the small plane taking advantage of the sandstorm to block the line of sight, and general system energy surged throughout the body and rushed towards Leoben Point. If you observe carefully, you will find that they are flocking to Leoben twice in a row. After Bankalus Mega evolved, its speed race value was 71. Although it was not considered high speed, it was not considered low speed either. However, Zyology was determined to be an assistant today, and Leoben had just made his appearance, so he took advantage of the opponent's lack of defense. Directly another wave of please ask first plus help. At this time, Leoben also waved his arm violently as the rock energy was once again condensed on the roof. Asu reacted immediately, causing the Big Electric Petrol and Fire Arrow Eagle to perform a double flight. This time it is Big Electric Heian who overdrafts and uses hold. After all, Fire Arrow Eagle just performed Sword Dance once, and now it is the main output force, but at this moment, the double flight was successful. The big electric petrel perfectly blocked the Fire Arrow Eagle in an instant, but there were far fewer rocks falling from the sky than expected, only 4. However, they did not fall with great force. Instead, they bypassed the big electric petrel and directly attacked the Fire Arrow Eagle. This is Asu's pupils shrank slightly when he saw this, although the barrier was in a sandstorm and could not be seen clearly, but Asu suspected that this was not a rock collapse at all, but some kind of awakening skill. Chapter 864 Little 4 Elephants Seal. Is this an awakening skill? Asu was also stunned when he saw this among Azu's main Pokémon. There are many that can awaken skills, and those that are not awakened are too difficult to use, but with only the 9th badge, the Pokémon brought by Azu didn't have any awakening skills. After all, the 9th badge is normally a level that can be ranked among the top few in the rookie competition, and has the ability to compete for the championship. Normally, it is not possible to master something as high-end as awakening skills. Generally speaking, this is something that needs to be considered only after level 80 or even full level. I saw 4 rock blocks that circled around in all directions and struck the fierce Arrow Eagle, directly injuring it severely, and, after that, the 4 rock blocks did not disappear immediately. Instead, they clung to it and fell to the ground with it. That's right. This is exactly the incomplete version of 4 symbol seal. Just yesterday, Leoben's rock blockade finally reached the level of awakening level 1. Compared with the normal rock blockade, the power is not significantly improved, but it is not only more controllable, but also has a more obvious slowing down effect, and also has a physical restraint effect, but it probably needs LV2 to become a real 4 elephant seal, that is, completely blocking the target from using skills within the duration. And now the effect of slowing down has not been exposed, because Orc has lost its combat effectiveness. Please ask the gym leader Azu to change the Pokémon immediately. Doug George's referee has good eyesight and accurately judged the loss of the battle in the sandstorm. At this time, Leoben is not doing it for the sealing effect, but is using the controllability of rock blockade to directly ensure that the target is cleared from the field. Don't look at the power of rock blockade, but a completely hit rock blockade is much more powerful than the previous incomplete hit, rock collapse, and after Leoben awakens from rock blockade, there is no reason to continue to lead. Rock crash. Good job. At this time, Sue immediately replaced the Arrow Eagle and whispered comforting words to the game ball. Although theoretically you can't hear it, but your feelings can be conveyed. This is a bond, and where the Fire Arrow Eagle disappeared, a brown figure flew past in an instant. It was the Dabby Bad that had appeared before. Seeing the awakening skill of Mega Bankulus, Hongzi's housekeeper couldn't help but call out in a low voice, "Miss," but Hongzi just shook his head at this time. The ability she felt was not that simple. It is true that a young trainer directly trained Bankulus who was over 70 levels, capable of Mega Evolution, and also mastered the awakening skill, which was a very genius thing. It's just genius. There are so many geniuses in the world. This is completely different from what she saw before. The feeling of a supreme being in the mystical sense. With the sandstorm here, it must be even more detrimental to the flying Pokémon, right? And Leoben doesn't have burn, so if we just delay it. Sonoko started to analyze at this time. It's like this on the field, but it depends on Eminem's durability. Xiaolan reminded at this time. That's right. There must be 2 Pokémon flying in the sandstorm now, which consumes the most physical strength. As for the small plane, just hide on the ground. Leoben's intimidation power is not less than that of Arduin. However, it is also necessary to consider the consumption of Eminem off the court. Maintaining Mega Evolution will consume the trainer's physical strength. When Eminem forced the strange Gyarados to evolve into Mega, that was Junsha. A man next to him muttered in a low voice, "It won't be over in a few seconds." When Hongzi heard the sound, he turned around and looked over. The latter immediately stood there with a straight face. Hongzi smiled slightly, but did not expose it, and no one else heard it except Hongzi. "Really? Why don't you fight?" Yinsen said impatiently. It's not that the Baotafetian style is really timid. If Eminem's wasn't strong enough, then the Pokémon he sent were almost the same as Azu's, and there was no obvious restraint. Azu would have already shown off. Fetian flow is very easy to show off, but now, there's Mega Armor Rhinoceros and Mega Bankulus, both of which are Pokémon that make flying type Pokémon useless in terms of physical attack. Now that big electric petrol is present, it can occasionally turn back around Leoban and occasionally release lightning attacks as a special attack Pokémon. At this level, even if it is not a skill, it can also release energy attacks. Unfortunately, in Sandstorm, the rock type Pokémon also has a bonus to its special defense, and unlike Mega Bankula, it has no shortcomings in special defense either. Very high, and big electric petrol doesn't dare to get too close, otherwise Mega Bankulus will be able to reach it with its big jet jump. In the non-skilled state, it attacked 3 or 5 times, but it was not as harsh as Leoban's attack point. Then the first skill to be ready is naturally Dabby Bird. As for big electric petrol, I just overdrawn a hold in vain, which delayed the progress of the skill point. However, Dabby Bird did not use its skills immediately at this time. After a while, Mega Bankulus and Big Electric Petrol, which had made up for the overdraft, had their skills ready almost at the same time. Electricity, the Big Electric Petrol, which had been holding back for a long time, had just finished using its skills, and you could see the electric current flowing around it, making it seem like it had transformed into a spherical lightning. What skill is this? Crazy Volt? Yuanzi asked doubtfully. No, Crazy Volt is a physical attack skill. Xiaolan was also confused at this time point. As for Tomoyo, who knew about Dadenheian, he obviously didn't understand Asus Dadenheian either, so he just looked at it with a smile. If you don't know, just don't say anything, and you won't show any cowardice. Hongzi, who had no communication with them before, said at this time, it's Electric Ball, but he exerts the power of Electric Ball on himself, instead of forming an electric ball and throwing it out. This is not awakening, it is just proficiency that can be achieved. Takarada. Fetian style is good at flying attacks, not energy attacks, so it will basically make this kind of buff change. And when he saw the other party coming towards him with electrical power all over his body, although it is fancy and the flight path is unpredictable, for Eminem, there is only one thing to do at this time. At this time, Eminem raised the match ball, took it back to Leoban, and replaced it with Arduin. Asu couldn't help but be confused when he vaguely saw the shape of the super armor crazy rhinoceros point. Ordinarily, there is no need to come up to the burned object attacking the hand at this time point. Even if it is a ground type, it is immune to electricity type attribute attacks. But how much can a physical attacker restricted by burn do at this time? Chapter 865 Magic? It's Arduin again. Yuanzi also said in surprise. Burn's physical attack hand is considered half a useless person. Yuanzi still knows, if it were a wild fight, Eminem could indeed easily cure Burn. But now he was in a competition. Normally speaking, if 10 professional trainers take this multiple choice question, at least 9 of them should choose Mega Bankulus to stay and continue fighting. There is no disadvantage anyway. Certainly that's because they don't have their own regenerative power. Hongzi, who noticed the problem immediately, reminded, no, Burn is gone. Yuanzi and others were stunned when they heard this. Then everyone discovered that it could indeed be vaguely seen that the ribs of super armor crazy rhinoceros were no longer red. At this moment, Asu felt depressed. After trembling at the corner of his mouth, he suppressed his doubts. It was obviously a guess that this should belong to some kind of special ability point. Of course, Asu still didn't guess correctly, because this is not Eminem's special ability, but Arduin's own ability. He used materials blessed by Celebi during his evolution, so he has the characteristic of natural recovery. That's why it makes so many eggs. Beauty saw that Arduin was full of energy at this time, as if even the physical strength he had consumed before had been restored. This was indeed Eminem's special ability. As for the big electric petrol, which transformed into an electric ball with the blessing of electric energy, it directly hit Arduin, but the electric light shattered directly, making people instinctively think of the word beating an egg against a stone. The electric power in it spread to Arduin, and it was completely useless. The physical impact did limited damage to Arduin, but he was thrown away with a backhand blow. At the same time, ordinary people can't see clearly in Sandstorm, but it is true that the effect of tailwind has gradually stopped, and the big bird that has just completed the skill is waiting for this opportunity and immediately flaps its wings again and activates a new round of tailwind in an instant. The big electric petrel, which had just released its charging effect, was once again filled with electric light. That's right, Asu had calculated it originally. After Dian Heian used the skill, tailwind almost stopped. It just happened that Dabby Bird added tailwind at this time, which not only continued the effect, but also wind power generation can be stimulated again. But now, standing on the field is the super armored rhinoceros as a ground type Pokémon. The electric type skill is a joke, only physical impact is effective. As for the normal attacks that condense electric energy, there is no need to try them, they are just a waste of stamina. Of course, with Arduin's low speed, he really didn't have a chance to make a move for a long time. The small plane was overdrawn by help, and his skills were not ready yet. On the contrary, Dabby Bird still had the right to take action after tailwind. It directly used Steel Wing and scratched Arduin hard twice. But what Asu didn't expect was that just after the small plane skill was ready, astonishingly, 2 more general system energies poured into the body of super armor crazy rhinoceros from Poxki. This time, when he saw a rock shadow on the ceiling, Asu immediately directed a wave of flying together. Flying together is originally the most effective move of Baotafetian style in doubles when dealing with rock collapse. In doubles, flying type is still very weak to rock crash, although Baotafetian style likes Pokémon with high speed and high flexibility. Rock slide poses too great a threat to flying type, so relying on evasion every time will inevitably lead to a low error tolerance rate, and if every time the opponent's rock collapse requires to hold to block it, which will result in a loss of blood point, and flying together can make the Pokémon above help the Pokémon below, blocking almost all damage from rockfall. If the skills are changed, the high-speed Pokémon will undoubtedly take advantage, seeing that Dabby Bird is responsible for defending. It seems that in Azu's lineup, Dabby Bird is more of a support. Xiaolan was also a little confused at this time. What's wrong? Yuanzi asked, confused when he heard the sound. Why did Eminem get ask first and help together again? Wouldn't it be a huge loss if he was blocked? Xiaolan's tone was filled with confusion. Indeed, if it is blocked by a hold, it will become 2 skills of Pockets plus a little wasted skill preparation of super armored rhinoceros. Only 1 hold on the opponent, and it is hold at high speed, but the premise is that it must be blocked. Oh, is this magic? Hongzi smiled coldly, as if he had seen through Eminem's method. I saw the falling rock in the air at this time smashing down, and it was indeed blocked by the big bird. But, is it too light or too little? Next moment, get away. Asu had already realized something. It's a pity that it's still a step too late. At this moment, a spear-like rock cone rose from the ground and hit the covered big electric petrel directly from below. Because I was still in the sandstorm, I didn't see it clearly. In fact, the falling rocks above were just normal attacks that Arduin kept shooting up with his arm cannon. The real killing move is a sharp stone attack below. Sharp stone attack is not that easy to hit in the first place, and if the target is the Fetian School, which is famous for its agility, it is even more impossible to hit. Eminem has observed twice before that at the moment, when flying together is achieved, the 2 Pokémon will hover relatively still, which is suitable for sharp stone attack to be used if it is Azu's ace Pokémon. It actually does not have this kind of weakness. It can fly at high speed simultaneously, but the Pokémon currently on the field have not yet been trained to this level. As for Arduin, he is wearing the Turbonatic this time, so he doesn't need to consider changing skills. The 4 skills are all attack, so naturally he also brings the sharp stone attack. At this time, he makes a surprise attack, Datton. Hey, iron has lost its combat effectiveness. Please ask the gym to change the Pokémon immediately. The referee immediately announced point this time. There is no doubt that the big electric Heian was instantly defeated. It can be said that this duel between the two sides is like this. Azu's flying Pokémon has been scraping in fancy ways, while Amu's Pokémon is often very powerful and heavy, and one attack will eliminate one. There is no difference between the two tactics, but now, it's impossible for Arsu to win by relying on Guasha because for now, Eminem will replace Arduin and replace him with Leoban. Leoban is still full of energy. Leoban fights back and forth twice, and then he replaces Arduin, and Arduin is still full of energy. All it consumes is Eminem's physical strength, but with Eminem's physical strength, this eternal flame can still burn for a few more times, but at this time, Junsha, who was guarding the side, was already ready. After hearing Hangs's words, he muttered, "This is not magic, it's too rough." The next moment, just listen to the outside. "Ah, Kit, Kit, Kit," there was a loud shout outside, and it sounded like Kid appeared outside. "Ladies and gentlemen, now, what I will bring to you is Kid's special magic show." Kid's voice came from the top of the tower. "What's going on? What are the people on guard in the air doing?" Jinsen asked angrily. Just when Jinsen was about to run to the window, the power was cut off on the 4th floor of the tower. Eminem and Asu immediately stopped attacking, and Jinsen immediately shouted, "Quick, prepare the power supply." Chapter 866 Magic. The gym showdown between Eminem and Azu gym leader is still in progress. There was a commotion among the Kid fans watching outside. I saw many playing cards floating down above the crowd for some reason. These are Kid Sam's cards. Give me, quickly. Look up there. The rain of cards seemed to be a warning, and soon a figure wearing a white dress and a white top hat appeared on the top of the tower. "Ladies and gentlemen, now, what I will bring to you is Kid's special magic show." The processed Kid's voice came out at this time. "Kid, let's capture him without mercy. You've been arrested." At this time, Junsha, who was riding a big bird, an armored bird, various birds, all surrounded Kid. But at this moment, Kid's body suddenly expanded, and at some point, he transformed from a human into a huge human-shaped balloon. A substitute. No. There is firepower. Evacuate quickly. Suddenly, Junsha realized something, and shouted quickly. Several flying Junshas who were still approaching immediately informed the Pokémon to move away, and the Kid balloon, which had been inflated to a very huge size, did explode at this time. But, there is only sound and smoke, but no power. It is simply a squib mixed with fire powder. It has no lethality and only has a lot of smoke. At this time, everyone had realized that they were being tricked, but when they got closer, they found that the enlarged top hat was still there. This top hat did not look like it was inflated, and they didn't know how it inflated. Stand up and this huge hat was placed on the top of the tower, and then, the huge top hat just slipped away and fell down, and wherever it passed, the Tower of Trumpet Butts seemed to have been erased from the screen by an eraser. Turning hats into swords and sticks has always been a sideshow in magic shows, but now, did Kid use a hat to make such a big Tower of Trumpet Butts disappear? At this time, Ate was also under the tower, looking at this scene in shock. How is it possible? Kids. Fans off the court were already applauding wildly. Everyone present was also confused, not only because of the incredible scene in front of them, but also because the Yinsen police department responsible for commanding the scene was also in the tower, and now they had lost contact. In the same way, the gym trainers who were originally prepared to assist did not know what to do at this time. The tower was gone, which meant that the gym owner was also missing at the same time. On the 4th floor of Trumpet Bud Tower, just as Yinsen was about to check out the window, the surroundings suddenly went dark. After the backup lighting was activated, when Yinsen looked at the curtain in front of the window, he instinctively felt something strange. However, his actions were faster than his brain. He stepped forward and opened the curtain, and then, Yinsen exclaimed. Then he finally understood what was wrong. Although it is almost 10 o'clock in the evening, there are lights outside. After all, there is light that can shine into the 4th floor of the tower. It's just not much, but there is still some light, especially since there is a full moon tonight. However, after the power outage, it was pitch black outside. At this time, when the curtain is opened, it can be seen more clearly. The outside is very different from just now. Eminem and others came to the window one after another at this time, and saw. At this time, no one could see outside, and it didn't look like they were in the city at all. At this moment, a bright light suddenly appeared from the sky, click, or thunderclap, with the help of lightning. Everyone finally saw clearly that the surrounding area seemed to be a wilderness. How is it possible? Jensen almost bit his tongue. This place isn't where it was before. Sakura asked in surprise. Is it already on the outskirts of the city? Tomoyo frowned at this time. No. I looked at the weather forecast. The weather in the Platicadon area tonight is very good. There is not even much wind. Where did the thunderstorm come from? It must be Lord Kid who teleported to a very far place. Kiko said with admiration. Is it true that the entire tower teleports? Xiaolan also asked in surprise. Impossible. If this can also teleport, then at least the divine beast took action. Conan immediately denied it. Police department. No, there's still a thunderstorm outside. Junsha quickly stopped Jinsen, who was about to ride out on a flying Pokémon. Similarly, Tomoyo also secretly pressed Sakura's hand that was reaching for the ceiling staff. At this time at this moment, Eminem said, calm down, our position has not changed. His tone was very firm. The reason why he is so sure is because when Eminem just saw this scene, he asked Leoka for confirmation the relative spatial position between himself, and it has not changed. And Eminem asked carefully, this has not changed. That is, there has been no change. Not much change, like more than 900 years. Hearing what Eminem said, other people around him also looked over. I saw Eminem calmly walking to the window at this time, looking in one direction in the sky and saying, and I can feel the moon is still there. What's outside now is just a cover-up. Another person who knew what happened at the first sight was Hangzi. At this time, she looked at Eminem and saw that he had noticed it and secretly wanted to cast a spell to cause trouble. Otherwise she felt that kid might not be able to escape this time. It's really a cover-up. Jensen was a little nervous at this time and wanted to ride on the big bird. Just now it was impulsive and without thinking, but now looking at the sky filled with thunder and lightning, it still takes courage to fly out. But Eminem interrupted directly. No need to bother, just leave it to me. Eminem said leave it to me, but actually, leave it to me and Zio Shen's bond. Okay. The next moment, Eminem released the little lightning bird from the lightning bird ball on his necklace. During thunderstorms, flying Pokémon don't dare to take off at will, unless it's electricity plus flying. Asu's big electric petrol just now worked, so Eminem can probably understand why Kid started to cause trouble just when Arduin's sharp stone attack knocked down the big electric petrol. At the same time, Amu, who was aware of it, also looked in Hans's direction. Sure enough, her housekeeper was saying something to her anxiously. Obviously he didn't want his eldest daughter to wade into troubled waters at this time. Stinky humans. I gave it to you. What did I give to you? Obviously leave it to me. Although Zio Shen was full of complaints, he still flew out and immediately exclaimed, what is this? What is this? This is it. Fake. All fake. Just as Zio Shen flew out, he noticed something, and then he said something out of thin air outside, and the scenery outside suddenly started to shake. Chapter 867 Crackdown on Counterfeiting. When looking outside, the perfect three-dimensional view immediately began to shake after the lightning bird said this, and even the occasional flash of electric light became distorted. It was obvious at a glance that it was very close. Scenery. Meanwhile, outside Kit, huh? Do you feel like you're shaking? What happened? What's that over there? You can also see from outside that where the tower originally disappeared, the night scene is a little shaky. Then suddenly there was a ray of light blooming out of thin air. If you observe carefully, you will find that the light from the searchlight in the tower shines through the small hole made by the flash. The entire tower body is now covered with a curtain, which looks like a perspective effect from the outside. but looks like a thunderstorm wilderness from the inside. At this time, Eminem had also found Kid. Kid's position is very easy to guess. He is standing on the bas relief of trumpet buds outside. Although the relief is only slightly raised, Kid can stand very firmly with just his toes. Even on the flower eating mega rough stone is identified. Hey, long time no see. Kid said hello to Eminem calmly. Eminem easily climbed out of the window and stood on this tiny protrusion with only 1/5 of 1 foot and the lengthwise sole of his foot stepping on it. He was also leaning slightly sideways and his whole body was just like this. He was stuck sideways on the relief out of thin air, as if he was mocking Newton or Ubisoft. Didn't you say you wanted to steal the tower? Why did you just attack the gems again? That's too cunning. Eminem mocked. At this time, Jensen also leaned out of the window and shouted angrily, Kid, let's capture him without mercy. Ah, you the ones who are cunning? You actually used fake mega evolution rough stones. Kid said and spread his hands. Oh, fake. Amu's eyes lit up when he heard this. Could it be that middle-aged fat tiger wants to sway the Deo temple group? I suggest your girlfriend to use more palms and eyes. Shouldn't it be easy to identify whether it is a mega evolution rough stone? I won't accompany you. Kid was talking and saw that Jensen had already mounted the big bird and was about to chase after him, so he jumped out while Eminem said, no, it's a female friend. He also stopped. Flashpoint. Why does this guy seem to be here specifically to inform you that mega rough stones are fake? Meanwhile, outside when they saw the trumpet bud tower disappearing, it seemed like something was fishy. So all the gym trainers flew up to check it out. Suddenly, dozens of man-flying Pokémon and more empty flying Pokémon took off into the air, directly surrounding the original location of Trumpet Bud Tower. But at this moment, a supergiant Magikarp suddenly appeared on the spot and then hit everyone with a water splash. All the trainers were also shocked, even though it was Magikarp. It was still a bit scary to be photographed by a Magikarp that was dozens of meters tall. No. Everyone disperse. The crowd, seeing such a big King Magikarp coming towards him, Kid's fans not only didn't run away, but instead crowded over crazily, as if they were trying to catch it on purpose. Next moment, of course, there were no violent scenes such as smashing half the street into mud, but looking from above, we could see a huge wave splashing up, as if this huge King Carp was behind the water splash jump. It turned the bottom into a big puddle. Even the trainer flying in the air instinctively covered his face at this time, but no liquid actually splashed up. The next moment, everyone also saw that something was wrong, and the scene below gradually returned to its original appearance in a distortion. There is no King Magikarp at all, just a huge white curtain covering the crowd, and if you turn around, you can see that the Tower of Trumpet Buds is still in place, apparently. It was this curtain that was so huge that it could cover the entire tower. It covered the tower and then used some kind of projection to show the perspective effect on it. It should be the work of some kind of illusion Pokémon. And this huge curtain, it should be the cloak of the giant kid balloon. After the explosion, the smoke swirled and covered the tower, and it still showed the appearance of a tower at first until a giant hat fell. At this time, you can also see that the huge top hat is set under the tower, but this hat has no top. Everything is an illusion on the curtain, including the King Carp at the back, and the waves just now, and what Eminem and others saw in the tower was naturally the other side of the curtain. As Kato's abilities improved, the illusion abilities that the Zoroark left behind by Kuroba Fairuchi became more and more superb. Eminem doesn't find this surprising. After all, the Zoroark in the original theatrical version can even create illusions that cover the entire city, making people in the entire city believe it and evacuate. In comparison, Kid's performance is not an exaggeration. However, this curtain is still a necessary prop, because Zoroark's illusion is still just sounds and images. The target is the illusion itself, rather than the creatures who see or hear the illusion. In other words, the illusion that everyone sees does not differ from person to person, and it is not a manipulation of the senses. Only by covering it with this curtain can we see different scenes inside and outside. From the outside, it looks like the Trumpet Bud Tower has disappeared, but from the inside, it looks like it has been transferred to a thunderstorm wilderness. The scene is in the night, and the thunderstorm wilderness can only occasionally see some scenes under lightning. It is a relatively dark setting, so naturally it is less prone to flaws. Of course, this cannot be kept secret for too long. Sooner or later, someone from outside will check, and sooner or later, someone from inside will come out. Kid just needs to fight for such a small period of time for himself. However, he did not expect that even after the big electric petrol lost the battle, the second man could actually take out the lightning bird. Do you really have a lightning bird? What a grand performance. Originally, if he had bought more time, Kid could have made a secret signal on the relief, then calmly blended back into the sand, blended into the crowd, and left. And now, this plan obviously doesn't work. But Kid also has second-hand preparations. Kid jumped directly into the huge curtain and then fell into the crowd, although Jinsen immediately rode on the big bird and chased after him. When Eminem saw the other trainers outside, dispersed in fear. And when the huge curtain fell into the crowd, he knew that Kid would definitely not be able to catch him. Arrive. Chapter 868. Admit defeat. The crowd didn't move away. Conan looked at the situation below and couldn't help but feel puzzled. Although he only saw the inside, not the Magikarp, and only saw the last waves rising, he knew when the flight trainers dispersed that they must have seen something terrible. But the crowd below actually face each other like this. It should be because the angle is different, so what the people below see is just a flat image. Zero AI said at this time, no, but even if you see a large sheet covered, most of the reaction should be to run away, right? Conan judged, unless. Immediately Conan also shook his head, realizing that Kid must have made some preparations in advance, and informed his fans. That's right, it's the rain of cards at the beginning. It says, the lucky ones who are embraced by King Magikarp, I wish you a wonderful night. Coupled with the angle problem, the crowd below could actually see that it was flat and that it was King Carp. So instead of spreading out, everyone crowded together. It seems that Junsha and the others can only return without success today. Hongzi turned around and left. She actually had a tendency to take action just now, but after being targeted by Eminem, she did not take action forcefully, mainly because she realized that Eminem had no intention of grabbing Kid by force. Amu, why didn't you let Zio-Shen catch him? Yuanzi came over at this time and asked doubtfully. Originally, her impression of Kid was just a handsome uncle. Now the fact that Kid is very young is still a secret. Even if it is seen, it will only be regarded as a disguise. After all, the K-Tau Kid Germany became active more than 10 years ago. As for Kid's appearance, that is even more secret. Everyone only feels his handsomeness from his performance. But now Yuanzi's heart, Kid, who has no face, and his performance are not as handsome as Eminem at all. It's not like he's here to steal something, but he seems to be here specifically to appraise treasures. Tomoyo, let's make sure later on the authenticity of the Mega Evolution Rough Stone. Eminem reminded Tomoyo at this time. When everyone heard this, it became clear, since they just made a special trip to do this, then it's normal that Eminem didn't rush to hunt him down. Because of his previous public report, Eminem gave everyone the impression that he was a more selfish person. And now looking down, although Junsha came forward to search for Kid among the fans, it was not easy to find Kid among so many people. At any given opportunity, he would change his appearance and escape. The place where the crime was committed was destined. Kid would not choose to escape from the air today. With so many professional flight trainers present, it would be impossible for him to escape, even if he slipped away with his spinning Rotom paraglider. Even if stealth is also sure to be blown away. Apart from anything else, although Asu doesn't have any of his main forces with him now, his main forces are all in the gym and can come over at any time. Therefore, all his preparations were to escape from the ground. False? It seems like we really need to investigate carefully. Tomoyo nodded, with a calm expression on the surface. In fact, she thought of investigating the CEO here as well. Could it be that time? At this time, Asu also showed a look of recollection. If it was that Ate who made the change, then Asu should have an idea of when exactly it was done. Regardless of whether there are insiders from the Prodigy group involved, Ate is definitely doomed. His contract was signed with the Prodigy group, and the deposit was collected, but now he only has a fake Daishiho Omega Evolution Rough Stone. This is no longer a problem. With Thornbud Tower, if he really has financial problems now, the legal department of Doji Group can definitely take away him in one wave. Ahem. The game was interrupted just because of an accident. No one on either side is responsible. You can negotiate on your own how to continue the game. My opinion is that we can continue the duel according to the situation. When it was interrupted, the impact should not be big, or take into account the fact that Lyaro Eagle and Iron Heian were eliminated in the doubles just now, and they can fight again another day. But we need to record the 2 Pokémon that competed. The referee came over and said at this time point, in addition to the actual elimination in the recent battle, Asu's Big Bird and Big King Swallow should have consumed more energy, but Eminem's Super Armored Rhinoceros was also locked up because of his paying attention to headscarves. If you use a Sharp Stone attack skill, you must take it off the field afterwards. Otherwise, without the surprise, it will not be able to hit Asu's Pokémon at all. Taking into account elimination and fighting again on another day, there are advantages and disadvantages for both sides, and the situation is relatively balanced. And if the duel continues, Tailwind and Sandstorm have both disappeared in such a short period of time. Asu's Pokémon will not be able to recover much, which is also fair to both sides. Eminem could have accepted it originally, but now Asu shook his head and said, "There is no need to fight anymore. I admit defeat." Amu was a little surprised when he heard this, although admitting defeat is Asu's own business, which is in line with the rules. But just admitting defeat like this may arouse doubts. The Alliance's witnesses will also record the game situation and then submit it to the Alliance. However, Asu said nonchalantly at this time, "You definitely have 9-star strength. I hope you will perform better in the rookie competition." As the gym leader said, he directly extended his hand. Upon seeing this, Eminem shook hands with him. Asu is not afraid of criticism. He believes in his own eyesight and also believes in Eminem's strength. Then Eminem asked again, "Then Master Asu thinks, if I challenge for the 10th badge, is there any hope?" Asu was stunned when he heard this, and Kingsley and other strangers around him also looked at him in surprise. This means that he has not even participated in the rookie competition yet, and he is about to challenge for the 10th badge. As for Tomoyo, Sonoko and others, they had already heard from Eminem. "So handsome," Kiko said directly with emotion, somewhat out of line. While Kingsley rolled his eyes, he pulled his friend to resurrection. Azu smiled at this time and said, "Pokémon battles are unpredictable. Of course there is hope, but if you challenge here, there is not much hope. It is impossible for Eminem to continue challenging at the Platycodon gym. According to the rules of the Quartz Alliance, no 2 of the first 8 badges can come from the same gym, and no 2 of the next 4 badges can come from the same gym. And if Eminem wants to challenge, he will only choose those 10-star gyms. This way, his opponent will be clear that he is the gym owner himself, and it will be easier to prepare. Listen to what Asu says. With the strength shown by Eminem, it is true that there is no chance. You just have to choose the target." Chapter 869 Red Magic. Gym Fang. Asu player surrendered and challenged Fang Amu to win. The referee announced gym challenges above the 8th medal can only be conducted in the form of full match showdown. There is no room for the gym to perform on its own, but you can also admit defeat in full match showdown. After the referee and Asu confirmed the surrender, they announced it. The notary also said that they would record it in detail and upload it to the Alliance headquarters later. They did not want to continue to notarize it here, because even though they already knew that kid had done something wrong just now, it was a cover-up. But they were still a little shaken. After a brief exchange with Asu, Amu was about to leave, but was stopped by Hongzi. "Mr. Amu, would you mind talking alone?" Hongzi couldn't help but ask point after the observation just now. Hongzi was completely convinced that it was this Eminem that she predicted, but she still didn't understand why Eminem had that kind of orientation in a mystical sense. Point not only Sonoko and Tomoyo were surprised when they saw this, but Ayako and Kiko, who knew Anko, were even more surprised. When did Anko's classmate be so polite? Don't you usually give direct orders to the boys in the class in a queen's tone? Huh. Ah, okay. Eminem was equally surprised. He didn't know what she wanted to do with him, but when he thought about what she said before, being with Sakura is not a companion, Eminem was also a little curious. So before leaving Trumpet Bud Tower, Amu and Anko went to the free third floor, letting Sonoko and Tomoyo go down first. Yuanzi just said, "Let's see you at that late night snack shop." She really liked the late night snacks at that restaurant. Tomoyo left with a smile on his face, not knowing what he was happy about. Amu guessed maybe it was because he could ask Ate to pay her a large sum of money. Miss. The housekeeper looked worried. However, Hongzi just made a gesture to the butler, and the overly hunched and sinister looking butler looked at Eminem warily, but still retreated. "Mr. Amu, it's not as simple as it seems, right?" Hongzi asked directly. Huh? Amu was stunned when he heard this, and then asked suspiciously, "What are you referring to, Hongzi?" Hongzi didn't expect that Eminem would answer like this. The source of life, the mother of all things, the incarnation of beauty, femininity and the blood moon. Hongzi said the content of his prophecy. Who? Me? Amu pointed at himself. Hongzi, ahem, yes, it should be me. Where did these adjectives come from? Eminem had a vague guess in his mind, but he was not sure yet. This is the prophecy I got from Giratina. Hongzi stared at Eminem, but couldn't see any flaws. This is why she showed her hand. Based on what she had sensed about Eminem's mystical significance, she shouldn't act rashly or get in touch easily. But not only did Eminem act harmless, he couldn't tell the difference between red magic and black and white magic. This led Hongzi to speculate that he might not understand his own mystical significance. Of course, this is also the reason why Eminem's motherly temperament makes people easily let down their guard. After Hongzi's previous prophecy was backfired, Eminem's motherly temperament had a great influence on her. Giratina can still predict. Amu asked in surprise, "Isn't Giratina the god of shadows and reversed worlds? I haven't heard that it has any authority over fate, time, etc." Hongzi, generally speaking, people who don't know anything about it won't comment on any mythical beast like this, and people who know it won't have such doubts either. And Eminem, it is a mythical beast that really doesn't know much about this world, but because of the bond with Leoka, he doesn't really fear the mythical beast. Giratina has the highest status in red magic, symbolizing omniscience and omnipotence. Anko said after taking a deep breath. Omniscient and omnipotent? What about Arceus? Eminem asked. Generally speaking, Arceus, as the creator god, is worthy of omniscience and omnipotence, right? Hongzi, if she hadn't sensed Eminem's occult symbol, Hongzi would have felt that he was making excuses. It's been a long time since a red magician has been able to pray to Arceus for strength. Hongzi took a deep breath again. Eminem also probably heard that in the sense of red magic, Giratina was used as little Arceus. But why is Giratina related to omniscience and omnipotence? Red magic? I'm sorry, I thought magic was only divided into black and white magic. Amu looked at Hongzi inquiringly. Essentially different. Black and white magic was called witchcraft in ancient times. It is the ability of wizards who use Pokémon materials to cast spells, and our users of red magic are called mages. Hongzi at this time, he corrected himself somewhat arrogantly. Out of respect for Eminem's mystical significance, she didn't care. Instead of answering questions, Eminem explained, could it be that red magic doesn't need Pokémon materials? Listening to her tone, Amu couldn't help but have some guesses. It's just Eminem feels that this speculation is a bit unscientific in this world. Oh no, it's not a Pokémon. Yes, we red magic use magic by borrowing power from divine beasts and the highest source of magic power, except for Arceus, who cannot pray. The highest source of magic power is Giratina. Anko explained. I heard that it was related to the mythical beast, and Eminem suddenly felt like he was dreaming of Pokémon again. The supreme one is Giratina? In other words, one that is not too high can also be used. Eminem's eyes also lit up at the same time. Point. If it's a mythical beast that can be borrowed, can Zyodian do it? The most important thing is, can the old card be used? Haha. Leoka seemed to have noticed what Eminem said was not too high, and a sneer appeared at this moment. Yes, any divine beast with a divine status can pray for strength. After Hanzi finished speaking, he felt that Eminem was a little disappointed. I need to have a god. Eminem secretly thought it was uppity, and at the same time, rolled his eyes at Leoka's sneer. You can't do that either. Why are you laughing? Isn't it possible to hold the priesthood? Amu asked and confirmed. Yes, only having the status of a god is extraordinary in the sense of mysticism. Hongzi nodded. So, you mages don't usually use Pokémon? Amu asked curiously. Wizards are now beginning to be modernized. Hongzi frowned and said, some beginner mages will use the power of mythical beasts to command wild Pokémon of the same species. Wild Pokémon? Eminem was stunned when he heard this. It was probably like using Leoka's dragon scale talisman, right? So, even though he has no direct power, Eminem can be considered half-red. At the same time, Eminem also realized that if wizards are the prototype of ancient trainers, then mages should be the prototype of ancient rangers. Hongzi saw that she had answered so many questions, and that Amu had not yet explained the meaning. So she reminded him, the source of life, the mother of all things, the incarnation of beauty. Yin and blood moon, huh? It really should be me. You see, I'm a pharmacist myself, and my pharmaceutical brand is called Mom Classroom. I'm so beautiful, and I'm in love with the moon. Eminem said and dusted off his hands. Dust your bangs, Hongzi. When Eminem heard these words, they actually sounded familiar, but they definitely couldn't be used to describe Potions Professor or Harvest Priest. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 870 Mage. The source of life, the mother of all things, the embodiment of beauty, femininity and the blood moon. Listening to Hongzi's prophecy, Eminem also felt that it was a bit too solemn. Rather than himself, he was describing Mother and Moon in the Path of God Sequence 1. The reason why he, a mere Sequence 6, can have this honor, Eminem estimates, is either because there are no other owners of the God's Path in this world, so Eminem's mystical direction has been supplemented, or Eminem suspects that he may have had the path to God in his body. But he is just gradually awakening. After all, Eminem never added anything from the outside world when he was promoted. As long as he met the conditions, he could be promoted. This was not secret. But no matter what the situation was, Amu had no way of explaining it to Hongzi, so he had no choice but to pass by. Hongzi could also notice that Eminem was perfunctory on the one hand, but on the other hand, he seemed to be really not sure about his own situation, but there were some speculations that he didn't make public. Are there many mages of red magic now? Amu asked instead. As soon as he finished speaking, Eminem also felt that this question was a bit abstract, so he added, compared with wizards, far fewer than wizards, but there are still some. Most of them are organized, but they have nothing to do with me. Hongzi's tone was unruly and a little unhappy. Organization? Similar to the Ministry of Magic? Eminem asked understandingly, since he had heard about it, and the other party was willing to answer. Of course Eminem had to ask clearly. If you encounter other mages who master red magic in the future, you will be able to understand the situation. No, it's much closer than an organization like the Ministry of Magic. If you want to give an example, well, let's compare it to the Death Eaters. Hongzi smiled when he gave this example. Eminem can also tell that Hongzi is indeed unhappy with her real peer. Otherwise, I wouldn't use Death Eaters as an example. It should not be as dangerous as Death Eaters, right? Amu confirmed with a sneer. If it was really that dangerous, the major alliances should have responded long ago, just like if Voldemort had lived a few more years, killed Dumbledore, and unified the Gala wizarding world, he would definitely have to face the Dan Emperor. Well, they are just some guys who stay at home. Like wizards, they don't have much contact with the outside world. However, because they have a leader, they are much closer than the scattered wizard world. Hongzi explained at this time. Boss. Amu thought about the word for a moment, and at the same time she understood that Hongzi's metaphor was just derived from her own likes and dislikes. That's right, they call it the Supreme Mage. Nowadays, most of the mages are temple mages, and the temple mages everywhere regard the Supreme Mage as their leader. Hongzi said calmly. Point Slim Shady? Eminem didn't expect that he suddenly heard a somewhat familiar word. Have you heard of it? Hongzi frowned at this time. Point she couldn't understand why Eminem knew about the Supreme Mage, but didn't know anything about red magic or even the mage. Maybe some special being told me. Eminem could only blurt out a haha. Point Amu also doesn't know if there is any connection between this Supreme Mage and the Supreme Mage that Amu knows. If the characters are really similar, Hongzi's use of Death Eaters as an example is indeed more appropriate than that of the Ministry of Magic. After all, there are 10 people and 11 minds in the Ministry of Magic, and each region has its own Ministry of Magic. Point in contrast, the Death Eaters are a truly cross-regional organization with a single leader. At the same time, Eminem also saw Hongzi and the Supreme Mage, you, and the Supreme Mage are of the same lineage. It seems that you don't get along very well. Amu described it appropriately. No, it's just that I unilaterally feel that there is something wrong with the Supreme Mage. Hongzi's tone was like saying, I have no objection to them, I just think there is something wrong with their old minds. Eminem could only laugh at this. Eminem didn't have much impression of Marvel, but it seemed like there was something wrong with Ancient One. Thinking about it this way, Hongzi is not considered a malicious provocation. At the same time, Eminem suddenly recalled from his few Marvel impressions, Doctor Strange was injured and went to the Ancient One for treatment. Then he was favored by the Ancient One and became the new Doctor Strange, the Supreme Mage of the generation. Right. Speaking of which, nervous injuries, looking for cryptic dubious treatments that sound like scammers. This seems to be very similar to what happened to another person Eminem knew. The Supreme Mage has already been mentioned, and Eminem naturally thought of Sakuragi Hanamichi. No matter how inconsistent these words are when said outside, they are close here anyway. Point could it be? Can Sakuragi Hanamichi be the Supreme Mage? Eminem was surprised at this speculation at first, but then he also thought that Hanamichi was just seeking a cure, and he did not necessarily inherit the mantle. Point the Doctor in the original work was someone who heard that someone could jump and play ball again after recovery, so he went to find him. Right. Maybe Hanamichi is the previous case. Seeing that Amu seemed to be remembering something, Hongzi asked nonchalantly, what? Mr. Amu seems to be very interested in the Supreme Mage. Eminem always feels that she expects that she and the Supreme Mage will fight each other. Immediately, Eminem also realized that, since they were all red magic, why would they look for a Supreme Mage? What the Supreme Mage can do, Hongzi should also be able to do some of it. Right. I have a friend. Eminem just started. Point Hongzi suddenly became serious. He suffered spinal trauma and nerve damage. He is almost like a normal person, but he is unable to exercise strenuously or do any fine and technical movements. Eminem described Hanamichi's condition. Point when Hongzi heard this, his interest suddenly dropped. Obviously, Eminem was not hurt. This was really his friend. Treatment is not the strong point of our mages, Hongzi said, and looked at Amu, as if to say, isn't this something you pharmacists and doctors should consider? But then Hongzi also thought of something, and then said, well, indeed if you learn red magic, your mind will be greatly enhanced, and it is very likely that you will be able to rebuild your nerves. Eminem was stunned when he heard this. This doesn't mean it's treatment, but it means natural recovery after learning. But my red magic is inherited from the same source, and will not be passed on to anyone else. Hongzi declined at this time point. When Eminem heard what Hongzi said, of course he would not force anyone to do anything, but just confirmed to her, the Supreme Mage is in the Sinnoh region, Emi City under the main peak of the Xianguan region. This is the address that Eminem heard from Hanamichi. At that time, Eminem just thought that this was a liar, and he specifically told Hanamichi to call him when he was going. Chapter 871 Kato. Eminem had previously told Hanamichi to call him when he went to Emi City, otherwise Eminem was afraid that he would be betrayed. But now that I heard about the Supreme Mage, Eminem suddenly felt maybe it's really reliable. So Eminem confirmed with Hongzi whether the location Hanamichi mentioned was the gymnasium of the Supreme Mage. Should this be called a gymnasium? Yes, her lair is over there. Hongzi's choice of words was obviously not very good. If my friend goes, Eminem wants to ask if Hongzi can miss the question. I guess not everyone will accept the Supreme Mage, otherwise he would have become famous all over the world. Not necessarily. The Supreme Mage's lineage does recruit students from outside. If they are chosen, even strangers will teach red magic. But I don't know what the evaluation criteria are. Hongzi obviously guessed. It went out of Eminem's mind hearing Hongzi's words. Eminem was disappointed, but then Hongzi continued, if you follow, there will be no problem in all likelihood. Amu looked at Hongzi with a suspicious look on his face, and finally couldn't help but ask, the Supreme Mage, is he still a face-controlling person? Hongzi didn't understand what kind of brain circuit he had. No, what I can see, Guyi can also see. Hongzi said directly. Well, Hongzi's direct address to the Supreme Mage at this time confirmed her identity. Hongzi's meaning is also very clear. It's not because Guyi is a Yangao, but as long as Guyi discovers that Eminem has such a high status in the mystical sense, although he is not sure what is going on, the most conservative estimate is that there is a big backing, so he has to give face to him. After all, it's not that she wants to inherit the mantle, but that she has a student. She has so many students. There is no shortage of one more point. As long as Guyi doesn't think that Eminem's friends are very bad and will definitely become a disaster in the future, they will probably accept them. Of course, if she thought you were a threat, it might have the opposite result. Anyway, I didn't see that. Hongzi emphasized at this time point, if Eminem and Guyi fight, Hongzi will also be happy to watch the fun, but he still needs to be reminded. After all, Hongzi doesn't think what Guyi can do to Eminem, just in case he is settled by then. That's not good. It's a threat. Probably not. Eminem slowly brushed his bangs. Eminem vaguely notes that the Ancient One in another world seems to have secretly absorbed the power of some bad guy and gained a long life and powerful power, but in essence it is to protect the earth, and Eminem is just the source of life, the mother of all things, the incarnation of beauty, femininity and the blood moon. What bad intentions can she have? Of course, even if Guyi really wanted to do something, Eminem wasn't worried. In this world, the Red Mage's strongest source of power is just Giratina. Even if Ancient One draws power from other places, it will not be stronger than Giratina. And Leocat, at least you shouldn't be afraid of Giratina, right? After all, although Giratina is a somewhat powerful divine beast, from a human perspective, it is only about as powerful as Rayquaza. But thank you for telling me this. Eminem thanked Hongzi. Well, Hongzi was still not used to being thanked. Originally, Hongzi was a little in awe of Eminem because of his mystical orientation. If it weren't for the motherly temperament that neutralized it, she wouldn't even be able to communicate with Eminem like this. And now hearing Eminem say thank you, it made her feel something she had never experienced before. She was a real witch, not a magical girl. She usually used some magic on the boys around her to become her captive, giving them running errands by herself, enjoying the feeling of being superior to others. These are commonplace for her. As for helping others, it is something that has never happened before, an idea that has never occurred, and I did not expect to be thanked at this time. Isn't this what you asked? Based on your ability, Eminem didn't notice anything strange and just walked out with Hongzi. Sonoko, Tomoyo and the others were no longer here, probably at a late night snack bar. But Ayoko, at this time, I received a small pink flower from Kato, the kind that comes from his pocket. Although he turned into a pigeon, and flew away. As soon as he took it, Kato finally came over, and the Tower of Trumpets didn't have to be moved, which still made Ayako feel good. So, you still remember? What? Ah. Is it pink today? Of course I remember. I just saw it in the morning. Ah, go to hell. Well, compared to Shinichi, Kato is more childish and less serious looking at the triumphant Kato. Even though Eminem didn't catch him just now, he couldn't stand how happy he was at this moment. It was as if he hadn't caught him. Then you dare to come back? Amu said in surprise point. When Kato heard this, his movement suddenly froze. Who is this? Kato immediately pretended not to recognize him. He's Eminem. Thanks to him, Kid didn't succeed this time. Kingsley introduced immediately. No. Even though I changed my clothes and my face is different, isn't this gay? Eminem wanted to expose Kato as a matter of course point, but at this moment, there was only a bang sound, and Kato conjured a Tower of Trumpet Butts cake, temporarily attracting Ayoko's attention. It's great that the Tower of the Trumpet Bud has not been stolen. The Prodigy group should also cancel the acquisition later. Kato desperately wanted to remind Eminem that he did not steal anything and returned it. His girlfriend reminded him point, but Eminem still said, so I didn't arrest you this time. Kingsley looked at Ami's expression, already confused, and seemed to want to ask something. Yeah, I didn't catch that kid guy. He must be crying bitterly now. Kato quickly changed the shape of Kid in an OTR pose on the cake point. Seeing this, Eminem let him go temporarily. Well, I hope he can reflect on himself and start a new life in the future, Eminem said, brushing his bangs. The guy who usually pretends to be like Beep was definitely going to be teased if Kato saw it, but now he didn't dare, and instead breathed a sigh of relief point. Although Jinsen had seen his face before, he was fooled by the excuse of time management and Kid can disguise himself as any one point. But if you are suspected by Eminem, it will undoubtedly not be so easy to fool him, because Kid didn't show his face just now. So I know that Eminem must have seen his identity from other aspects. You guys eat the cake first. This Mr. Amu and I will talk about something first, Kato said, and quickly pulled Amu away first point, lest he say anything again later. Chapter 872. What kingdom? Ayako was originally wondering why Kato and Mew, who were meeting for the first time, had a private communication. If she is a beautiful woman, she can understand. But at this moment Hongzi temporarily restrained her. Thinking of what Hongzi had just communicated with Eminem alone, Kingsley became more and more suspicious. Eminem is indeed quite handsome. Why don't you fight him? Not just beauties, but also handsome guys. Kingsley herself felt a chill. Huh. You don't want to bribe me, do you? I don't lack any gems. Amu looked at Kato warily, but still followed him and walked aside. We may have some misunderstandings. Actually, Kato wanted to explain. It's Kid. Eminem added directly. Point Kato. I'm afraid of you. Okay, as long as you don't tell anyone. From now on, I won't touch the gems of Prodigy group and Suzuki group. Kato's heart was bleeding. Point that's it for everyone else. Eminem's connector is really tough. Without these two big names, how many fewer opportunities will Kid have to perform? Isn't this completely unfair? Amu asked matter-of-factly, while looking at him dangerously. Point a posture of if you think I'm easy to talk to, just shake me a little. It will make you look better. It's fair, right? After all, you don't have any evidence, and you're not sure you can catch me, right? Kato's tone was even more matter-of-fact. No, if I tell Ayako now, it will be a big loss for you. But, if you don't steal the gems from the Prodigy group and the Suzuki group, are there any additional benefits? Wouldn't you return them if you stole them? Mew said, brushing his bangs confidently. Point well, after you steal it, you will pay it back, which is equivalent to not stealing it. Aren't you afraid that I won't return it? Kato said helplessly. Everyone knows that he returned the gems before, but isn't he always on guard? Although some of the owners return them to different owners than when they were stolen, most of the time they are sent to the Yinsen Police Department. I can refrain from revealing your identity for the time being, but you must answer a few questions for me. In addition, if you are caught by me at the scene next time, you must do one thing for me every time you are caught. Mew naturally put forward the conditions. Huh? What do you mean again? You didn't catch me this time either. Kato said, very concerned point, but Eminem didn't argue with him, just waiting to see his answer. Okay, it seems fair. Kato raised his hands and said as if surrendering, first of all, is your face real? Eminem looked at him suspiciously. Huh? Of course. Kato became more and more sure that Mew didn't recognize him from his face or body features. He probably had the same weird tricks as Anko, right? But for Hongzi, he can still cope with it. After all, Hongzi's identity as a witch is not easily exposed. Hongzi had also mentioned to Amu before that both mages and wizards were enforcing the Secrecy Act. When it came to contact with the Alliance, mages had even fewer contacts. So, does your father like to read mystery novels? Does your father chase female stars? Eminem asked even more suspiciously. Point, you look so much like Shinichi. No wonder kid can pretend to be Kudo Shinichi without Makup in the original work. Huh? Mystery novel? Female star? Not at all. What are you talking about? This is my private matter, so I won't answer you. Kato thought he was going to ask something and was confused by the question. Okay, then the most important thing. Why did you steal these gems? Eminem became serious. This determines how similar Kato's camp is to Eminem. Point, yes, Eminem is basically certain that the two of them should be in the same camp, so there is no possibility of exposing him. Point, as for why, ever since the guys from the Dark Organization targeted Eminem, Eminem's camp has been automatically divided, or it has been divided into camps, since Eminem was adopted by Grandma Ike from the Flame Team that Eminem has already established to the Dark Organization, from the Death Eaters that Eminem has seen with Half Claws to Hydra, from the Dark Kingdom that Eminem has never met before to Cosmic Demon. There are too many bad guys, all of whom are inextricably linked. So, in terms of the big camp, Eminem doesn't need to choose at all. Point, he must be on the opposite side of these guys. Well, of course it's to hone my magic skills and as my own personal magic show. Kato replied eloquently. Point, Eminem directly took out the illustrated book. Hey, is it Junsha? I have mastered the basics. Hey. Okay. Kato hurriedly stepped forward to hang up his phone and found that he hadn't dialed the call at all. Point, Eminem continued to look at him. Point, however, Kato still said, I don't want others to know about this matter because it is too dangerous. I don't need this kind of excuse. Let's be honest. Is it because of a mysterious organization? I suspect that this organization has some connection with the guy who is targeting me now, so I need clues. Eminem said directly. Point, in fact, in the original work, there is no overlap between the Zukid targets and the Winry Conan targets. But, in this world, the Dark Organization is the intersection of evil. Eminem feels that there is a connection in all likelihood. Point, after hearing what Eminem said, Kato said, I see. But he remained silent for a while. Point, Eminem did not rush to press further, but waited for a while, and then Kid said, have you ever heard of the Kingdom of Darkness, Slim Shady? Kid could tell by looking at his expression that Eminem obviously knew this, but he didn't expect to hear the name Dark Kingdom here. Of course Eminem has indeed heard of it, but, logically speaking, the Kingdom of Darkness shouldn't be other rivals of the female warriors in sailor uniforms. Don't tell me that you are pretending to be Sailor Venus in Sinnoh now. That's too golden, isn't that? In Sinnoh? Amu asked tentatively. Sure enough. Kato looked like you really know, then shook his head and said, it's true that the main activities are in the Sinnoh area, but 8 years ago, they were in the Johto area. Killing people killed my father, because my father, Kato Kid, was eyeing gems, and what they wanted was gems. It shouldn't be an ordinary gem, right? Eminem didn't believe it was for money. That's right, that's a special gem, or it should be called the Phantom Red Crystal. Chapter 873. What kingdom did you say again? Illusionary Red Crystal? Eminem repeated. Point, Kato felt that his tone didn't sound like he hadn't heard it before, but it didn't sound like he was suddenly aware either. Indeed, Eminem has heard, but in Eminem's remaining memory, that one should be called Phantom Silver Crystal. It's the one everyone grabs in Sailor Moon. Yes, in the legend, it is the Phantom Crystal that can make all wishes come true. It is now broken into 7 pieces. It is said that it is hidden in the large mega rough stone. The way to identify it is, you can see the inside under the moonlight, red crystal. Kato informed Eminem of this important information. Slim Shady, but like the silver crystal, it was broken into 7 pieces, and since this is the case, then Eminem has more and more reasons to believe that the Dark Kingdom Kato mentioned is the Dark Kingdom. So, the Dark Kingdom you are talking about is the one Sailor Venus is targeting, right? The one that destroyed the Moon Kingdom? Eminem asked directly. Nowadays, in the Sinnoh region, Sailor Venus is frequently active, and currently there is only one female Sailor warrior appearing, and Eminem didn't notice that. Generally speaking, people are not called Sailor Venus now, but Sailor V. Yeah, that's right. Kato felt more relieved when he saw that Eminem knew the name Sailor Venus. Firstly, you can rest assured that I'm not the one who dragged you into this, but you already knew it. Secondly, you also believe even more in the same camp that Eminem said before. But just when Eminem thought that he had smoothed out the relationship and was about to consider kidded Sailor Moon, Kato continued, Sailor Venus and I have met twice. Indeed, we have the same enemy. It is said that when the King of Darkness destroyed the Mushroom Kingdom in the moon space, he was inspired by Princess Bridget using the power of Lunala. The illusory red crystal sealed King Cool, and then the crystal shattered into 7 pieces. Slim Shady? What king of the Dark Kingdom, what kingdom and what princess in the lunar space? According to what Venus said, not only their princess and the guardian warriors have been reincarnated in Sinnoh, but the minions of the Dark Kingdom are also approaching, hoping to collect the phantom red crystal and resurrect King Cooler. Kato continued with, I don't really believe in things like reincarnation and the kingdom of the moon, but in short, I did find that in some legends. When the alliance was first established, the moon, What's wrong with you? At this moment, Kato realized that Mew had been stunned. Well, I've never seen Sailor Venus. Does she have a yellow mushroom head? Eminem asked tangledly. Huh? Of course not. Do you understand sailor uniforms? Kato said in a tone of what's your aesthetic? Eminem breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. At least it was indeed a sailor female warrior, not a mushroom head expedition team at this time. Eminem smoothed his bangs to calm down first. Whether it's the CP of Princess Peach's reincarnation, Tsukino Usagi, kid who was splashed with black paint, or the plumber from the East George clan wearing overalls, it has nothing to do with him, and it's not the focus now. Well, since it is related to the Dark Kingdom, then I can be sure that we are in the same camp. I have sufficient evidence. The Dark Organization currently lurking in Team Flare was once an ally of the Dark Kingdom. And the Dark Organization's bastard, you targeted me many times. Eminem said firmly. In fact, the so-called sufficient evidence is just what Eminem heard from ZOAI. But when mentioning the Kingdom of Darkness, Kingdom of the Moon, etc., Eminem only thought it was Sailor Moon. After all, ZOAI didn't mention the Mushroom Kingdom, King Kong, etc., and it was actually sealed in the crystal that kid was looking for, or rather, the remnants of the Dark Kingdom, in order to clear the way for the search for the phantom red crystal fragment. 8 years ago attacked Kuroba Toichi, who was also targeting the big gem, causing the current kid to target him. They were hunting all kinds of big gems, as if they were deliberately looking for trouble. And later, Eminem also learned that the remnants of the Dark Kingdom are now centered in the Sinnoh region. They have used their various special abilities to gain considerable influence in various aspects. They have minions all over the place and are cooperating with Team Galaxy. After all, the remnants of the Dark Kingdom came to Sinnoh 18 years ago. They knew at that time that the Princess of the Moon and her guardian warriors would be reincarnated in the Sinnoh region, and the fantasy red crystal, the fragments will inevitably be accompanied by the Moon Princess and appear in the Sinnoh region. Just because of this thing appears in large mega rough stones, and this kind of rough stones usually become gems and collectibles, so it is very likely that they will leave Sinnoh with human activities after all. Precious collections are either shelved, displayed everywhere, or constantly changing hands. This is different from starting to look for them immediately after being lost, and having self-awareness and only appearing when Sakura is close to him. Kuro card is different. Therefore, they must reach out in other areas as well. Amu was thinking about the relationship in his mind and saw that he had arrived outside the night snack shop. Sure enough, he could see from the floor to ceiling window that Yuanzi and the others were inside point. So I put my thoughts aside for now. Although we found that the enemy has more allies, but we also have more allies, right? Moreover, the enemy is King Kong and our side is Sailor Moon. In terms of appearance, we have already won. After gathering his mood, Eminem came to the dining table without showing any dignity. Only Conan looked at Eminem with super suspicion at this time, and Tomoyo greeted him with a smile. The others didn't find any problem. Well, Tomoyo usually has this kind of smile, but Eminem's keen sense is a little different. Brother Eminem, what did you and Sister Hanzi say? Conan asked immediately. Little brother, don't ask random questions. Tomoyo reminded from the side. In everyone's impression, Eminem should have been spending all this time with Hanzi. As for Conan, he really sensed that Eminem might have discovered something about Kid. That's right, children, don't ask questions about adult matters. Eminem also agreed. Eminem also instinctively teased him. In fact, although Eminem promised Kid not to reveal his identity, Eminem was prepared to reveal the matter of Phantom Ruby to Conan. After all, it was me, one of the few brains in the Fang camp. On Lei don't know if it was an illusion. After Eminem finished speaking, he felt a chill on the back of his neck, as if he was being recited. Chapter 874. The property returns to its original owner. Just as Kid said, the Prodigy group arranged for the appraisal of the Big Food Flower Mega Rough Stone on the Trumpet Bud Tower that night, and the result was naturally a fake. Although Ate wanted to say that it was Kid who replaced it, not only did Jinsen and Eminem's testimonies, Kid had no room for such a large gem, but there were also further identification results, which turned out to be the current one. This is a fake. Judging from the inlay method and the glue used to fix it, it was put in place 3 months ago. Not only did it prove that it was not done by Kid, but it also coincided with the time when the owner of Asao Hall thought that Ate might have exchanged the genuine product. Feeling guilty, Ate no longer reported the theft to Junsha, but, in this way, he still owes Prodigy Group a piece of Dashahu Mega Rough Stone. Without the Big Food Flower Mega Ore Stone, there is no need to acquire just this Tower of Trumpet Butts. After all, many citizens didn't want it to be moved in the first place, and now they still don't have the valuable Big Food Flower Mega Stone. Therefore, the tower body was directly donated to Fuxian Liu's gymnasium by the Prodigy Group. At the same time, Asu also agreed to hand over the 3rd floor to the Prodigy Group for operation. As for this land, although it still belongs to Ate in theory, the legal department of Prodigy Group has been dispatched to claim compensation for his breach of contract. The reason why Ate replaced the Dashiho Mega Ore Stone out of greed was because there was a problem with the company's capital chain. Now the problem has been directly detonated. Creditors, big and small, have contacted Prodigy Group to sue together. All the assets in Ate's name have been all are frozen. As for this piece of land, it may not belong to anyone in the future. It cannot belong to Ate anyway. If the owner changes, it will definitely be bought back by Asu, or it will be bought back by Asu during the foreclosure stage. Apart from selling it to Asu, or causing trouble for him, it really has no other use. After all, this place is in Fuxian Liu's gym, and the property rights of the building above are also owned by others. Previously, Ate was deliberately trying to find trouble. If it were someone else, he would have to give Otosu some face. It seems that Kid's theft was actually successful because the Tower of Trumpet Bud was indeed stolen from Ate and was later returned to its original owner on the night of the 18th. After Eminem had a midnight snack and returned to the Pokémon Center, he still informed Conan of the reason Kid was looking for gems in the Dark Kingdom related situation. However, Kato was not mentioned, nor was it said to be avenging his father or anything like that. It was only said that Kid was hostile to the remnants of the Dark Kingdom, without explaining the reason. After all, Kato and Shinichi look so much alike. As an adult, Eminem didn't dare to ask Sister Yukiko for fear of ruining her family. At the same time, Conan was reminded that the Dark Kingdom and the Dark Organization were allies back then. Combining the testimonies of all parties, the result of Eminem and Conan smoothing out the timeline. It's about 200 years ago when alliances from various places began to be formed, but they had not yet achieved much results, and when they began to fight against many anti-alliance forces, a place called Moon Space, which may actually be located in the lunar space. Also there was a war the Dark Kingdom led by King Cool launched a war against the Mushroom Kingdom, and finally sealed King Cool at the cost of the sacrifice of Princess Peach and the guardian warriors of the Mushroom Kingdom and the sleep of Moon Goddess Lunala. As for whether this Dark Kingdom is another kingdom in the moon space or in other spaces, Eminem is not yet sure. 18 years ago, the remnants of the Dark Kingdom learned about the fragments of the Phantom Red Crystal that sealed King Cooler and came to the main world in the Sinnoh region. Kuroba Toichi, who seems to know something, began to Kato activities at the same time. The Mushroom Kingdom confirmed that Princess Peach and the Guardian Warriors will also be reincarnated in the Sinnoh region. 8 years ago, because of the remnants of the Dark Kingdom, after warning Kuroba Toichi to no avail, they tampered with his magic show, causing his performance to fail. He disappeared and was suspected of death. Starting last year, the female warrior codenamed Sailor Suit V began to act, and the phantom thief codenamed Kid resurrected Conan. It's already very late, don't disturb Eminem anymore. Zyallen knocked on the door outside. Eminem immediately picked up Conan and opened the door for Zyallen. Yes, children should behave like children. Let him go to bed early. With that said, Eminem handed Conan over. Conan rolled his eyes at Eminem with a dead eye. Excuse me, see you tomorrow. Zyallen took Conan over. I can walk on my own. Just as Conan was about to speak, he felt a softness and suddenly stopped struggling. See you tomorrow. Eminem also said goodbye. Tomorrow Eminem and others will leave Platicadon City, but this time Yuanzi, Zyallen, and Conan don't have to separate from Eminem because the next destination is not far from Platicadon City and there is almost no wilderness in between. Eminem is not going to go out in circles to train in the wild because of the information I heard from Hongzi before. Amu specifically went to ask Hanamichi again and confirmed with him about going to Emi City to seek medical treatment. Eminem is basically certain that the person who recommended Ikebana really has something. He probably learned it from Ancient One, but he probably didn't really master red magic and became a temple mage. However, he also cured his own injuries. Hanamichi said before that he would wait and see the results of the current course of treatment before going to Emi City in March. He had already gone to Golden City, the super city, to seek treatment. As you can imagine, it was not a serious treatment. Therefore, Hanamichi became a little impatient. The start time of the Johto rookie competition is later than usual, but it is also in March, and the registration deadline is March 10th. Eminem received the illustrated book from Dr. Romu in Zenxin Town on March 10th last year. In other words, if Eminem is more extreme, he can even sign up on the last day. Eminem felt that he asked Hanamichi to wait until the end of March, after his rookie competition, before setting off. He was already a little unable to sit still, and Hanamichi was definitely not an honest person. If he was too unable to sit still, it was not ruled out that he would go on his own possible. Although I already know that I'm not a liar. To some extent, I'm more difficult to deal with than a liar. Therefore, Eminem decided to wait until March and accompany Hanamichi to Emi City. Although the journey is a bit longer, if you fly, it only takes a few hours, not a few days. In this way, the itinerary is to start from the current Platicadon City and go all the way to the northwest. Instead of going to Enju City, which we have been to before, we will go straight to Asakusa City, and then go out to Zinlan City from Asakusa City. Eminem and Hanamichi made an appointment to meet at Emi Airport on March 5th. Not counting the round trip, Eminem reserved 3 days for himself to help Hanamichi find Furuchi and become a disciple of Furuchi. Chapter 875 White Town. Ahead is the White Town. It's really all white, right? Yuanzi said, pointing to the white buildings that could already be seen in the distance. I saw Yuanzi and others riding in a rented car at this time. Sonoko was in the passenger seat, Xiaolan and Conan were behind, and Sakura was leaning against the window to catch up on her sleep, seemingly very sleepy. Eminem and Tomoyo were each riding a motorcycle lizard outside. Because Sakura was too tired and had no place in the car, Xiaoai still sat in the front seat of Ipma. Bebe town is located to the north of Platicadon city. It is a small town not far from the city. You can go there and back by renting a car, and there are not many signal interruptions in the middle. The town is rich in limestone, and the buildings in the town are also made of limestone, which looks white. After entering the town, the rental car driver also dropped them off. Why don't you go directly to the Pokémon Center? Amu couldn't help but ask when he saw the car parked. The town is not big, let's just walk there. Yuanzi was still rubbing his waist after sitting in the car for several hours. Tomoyo glanced at her. That's why she didn't understand why Sonoko didn't just call the Suzuki family's car to deliver it. Sakura was also full of sleep at this time and nodded with the same fighting spirit. Seeing this, Amu and Tomoyo also got off the motor lizard. Have a rest? Tomoyo said, taking out a handkerchief and wiping the corners of Sakura's mouth. Yeah. Sakura giggled. The reason why she is so tired is because Sakura didn't sleep well last night, and the reason why I didn't sleep well was of course because of the predictive dream last night. According to what Sakura said after Tomoyo called Amu over this morning, her precognitive dream last night was extremely informative and bizarre. From cute animals that look like something straight out of a fairy tale to dark and twisted monsters. There are everything, because it is too complicated. I still don't know what happened, and I'm not even sure if it is a precognitive dream. Is this here? Tomoyo asked Sakura in a low voice. This? Sakura looked around, then shook her head and said, probably not. In her impression, the scenes she saw in her dreams should be more colorful, not just white. By the way, can the Pokémon Center here really provide accommodation? Xiaolan was a little worried as she saw that the town was not big. Hearing this, Sonoko said, it doesn't matter. After that, I will go to Uncle Dejirigi and visit Master Caspacia. Then I will see if I can stay overnight. If there is no place, I will find a hotel. Yes, there is a legitimate reason why Yuanzi followed here. Her uncle Jirigi, after learning that Sonoko had come to Platicadon City, asked her to drop by White Town to visit Master Caspacia. Note 1. Caspacia is a world-famous painter, and his works are among Jirigi's collections. Recently, Jirigi also wants to hold an art exhibition, hoping to invite Caspacia to include his works. However, Caspacia has a weird temper, and Jirigi wants to let Sonoko have a look first. That Spartan master lives at the top, right? Amu looked up at this moment. There was a large white house rising to the northwest of the town. It's Master Caspacia. Sonoko corrected proudly. Xiaolan laughed at this. Yuanzi had to recite this name several times last night to be able to speak it so fluently. Sonoko also heard Uncle Jirigi say that this was not Master Caspacia's home. Master Caspacia was at home all over the world. In many small towns like this around the world, they all have real estate, but Jirigi recently heard that he happened to be collecting materials in White Town. Say, with so many of us coming, is it really okay? Sakura asked worriedly. No problem, right? It should be. Yuanzi couldn't figure out Master Caspacia's temper. Why don't you take him with you? I'll accompany him, for a walk outside the town. Eminem said and pointed at Conan. I always felt that this kind of behavior of leading Conan to the door was not very friendly. It doesn't matter. My mother and I have also met Master Caspacia. Even if I'm the one, I will come to visit him as well. Tomoyo took the initiative to say at this time, so he is such a famous painter. Amu sighed after seeing that Chais had heard of it. Although Eminem has traveled through time for a long time, he lacks artistic talent and still doesn't know much about painter well. Master Caspacia can be said to be the first-class Pokémon painter in the contemporary era, and he is also a very strong trainer. It is said that his tutu dog can even draw from life the skills of those legendary mythical beasts. Tomoyo explained. Then, does he have a wife? Or does he have any students? Eminem was still worried. As far as I know, no, Master Kasperskia is obsessed with his own creation and doesn't care about inheritance. Tomoyo looked at Eminem strangely, wondering why he cared about this. Eminem breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this. After all, if the artistic people in Conan were killed, 8 out of 10 would be done by students, and the other 2 would be the madam and the gunman among them. Most of the gunners work part-time for the first 2. Without the student and his wife, the danger was reduced by 90%. The town is not big, and soon Eminem and his party arrived in front of Kaspasia's house. I also saw several other townspeople gathered here with somewhat unhappy faces. When the group came to the door, an old man wearing glasses and a cap on his head, who looked like a painter at first glance, opened the door. Faced with the accusations from the townspeople, the old man skillfully took out the banknotes. Master Kasperskia, please take good care of these little guys. Yes, although it's nice to have money, it's really hard to clean a limestone house. How about we paint before it rains? Hahaha. Although the townspeople still had some complaints. For the sake of the money, they didn't say anything more. From what it sounds like, it seems like it's Master Kasperskia's Pokémon scribbling on it. Sorry, maybe it's the whiteness here that gave them some ideas. I wish they had more inspiration. Hahaha. The old man said with a smile. Obviously, people are not that easily fooled. Just because Kaspasia is a master and his tutor dog can make a few random scribbles, he will be called abstract and still be regarded as a graffiti subject. Go clean it off. Huh. Were you also scrawled by Tutu and the others? The old man said, adjusting his glasses and looking at Tomoyo carefully. Maybe he thought he looked familiar. Note 1. Kasperskia is the White Town NPC in the original Pokémon, but his personality has been modified, and he is not a character who comes from a strange place. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.